my kitties love me. And they're like, no, it's a parasite. Like, you're getting it anyway. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I heard at one point that like I think they tested the top soccer teams. I don't know how this came about, but they tested like a bunch of like South Latin American soccer teams, and they found that a good chunk of the players had toxoplasmosis, and I think like in France also they had like a 40, like a super high like percentage exposure rate to toxoplasmosis, like of just their general population. And it's weird to think
Yeah, I
about.
think, yeah, I think generally, right, the number is like in the 80 percentile or 80 or 90th percentile. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's fairly high. I don't know. It's kind of one of those weird things because it's like it gives you more, it lessens your inhibitions towards risk, from my understanding, but it doesn't like it's not like a brain worm. It's not like that RFK stuff that that like digs through
He literally had
your
brain worms. Yeah.
yeah, like gray
Yeah.
matter. Like it actually it inhibits your behavior. But even then, it's like how can you even measure that? How can you look at a single decision and think like, oh, that was 10% because of toxo or 20% because of alcohol or what have you? I don't even know how you would measure that.
That's where it is hard. And I'm willing to believe that, but it is hard with studies because they are, I don't want to call them anecdotal, but they're like they're compartmentalized in a way, right? And the correlation between them, it's easy for us as humans. We want to organize everything. I'm not saying you're doing this at all.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it gets boiled down to us in such a way that it's like a lot of study. I found now that a lot of studies have, I don't even want to say there's issues with them. Like the people had pure intent and they did an honest study, but then like you can't extrapolate it out to the broader societal argument or like just say that in this example, oh, it makes people more risk taking. Because I think what they did in the study is the original study was like they were measuring people that were in motorcycle accidents.
Mhm,
And you were
mhm,
like, oh,
mhm.
people that ride motorcycles are much more risk taking. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you have a higher risk of dying for that by far. So they were like, yeah, all these people that have been in motorcycle accidents have this toxoplasmosis. And then you come to find out in subsequent years, oh, it's like I might be off, but I want to say that it's a it's a majority of the population. It might be in the 60%, but they're like in the American population, it's like 60%. So you're like, well, 60% of the entire population, and then you just hyper focus on people that got in motorcycle wrecks. It doesn't necessarily, if that's your checkpoint for risk taking behaviors, that's not necessarily correlation. You know, it's peculiar that a lot of people that got in motorcycle wrecks, you know what I mean. But when you're dealing with such large numbers like that, it could have just been a fact that 60% of the population has it. So you got, you know what I mean, 6 out of 10 people that got in motorcycle wrecks have it as well. They need to like hyper focus on like people that skydive and bungee jump and like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, like do more shit like that, free climb. Find out those guys if they have toxoplasmosis, we're onto something.
Or even
Free
like
climb is just
I think it might be even more interesting to look at like mundane examples of it. It's just like how willing are you to like, I don't know, shoplift or jaywalk a dangerous street or
yeah,
like stuff like that? Because it's like, well, part of like those extremes is like you got the adrenaline junkies, but maybe it's just like, oh, maybe you'd like to have sex without a condom on, or what have you,
yeah,
like.
you're just risky. You're just really risky. Yeah, you just yeah, you'll rob something. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That it it would be interesting because like the manifestation of it, and I think how they discovered it is the crazy cat lady. Is like,
Yes, yes.
you know what I mean? And those behaviors are like hermit, like lock yourself in, like shutter the blinds, like just, you know what I mean? Kind of hyper focus on cats. They're not necessarily risk takers. They're kind of just losing it in the senile sense of just like slipping away and just being consumed with, I'm going to raise these cats and be alone. Um, so yeah, maybe it's more of that even, you know what I mean? Like they need to study the cat ladies because it feels like the cats are, there's like an aspect of the cats like controlling, like, yeah, just get more cats, just feed us,
Mhm,
just get more
mhm.
cats. you know, what I mean? Zombie.
You fall into the trap, yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you. Is it pronounced coyote or how do you say it properly?
Yeah, literally just Coyote. It's just the
Coyote.
Dragon Ball Z method.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for making the time, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right on.
Outsider Supply. I got my,
Oh, I
this is
didn't
one of
even
my
notice.
favorite shirts.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice.
What does it say on here? It says something cool. Dead Artist Society. Hilma A.F. Clint? Yeah.
Hilma, yeah, Hilma Clint. That's it's an artist that was used for the inspiration. I don't know if it was Mackenzie or Allison that made it, but yeah,
Walk into the forest and find your answer. Yeah, it's a cool ass artwork. It's very trippy. That's why I like it. Very hippie trippy.
yeah, get yours,
And
I
the
guess.
quality is ridiculous.
I'm glad to
Like
hear
if
it.
you look at the that is like the biggest tag, but it's like a night. It's not a uncomfortable tag. You know what I mean? It's like cotton soft. It's big. It's the details that matter. But the actual garment itself is yeah, like soft as cotton. It's those shirts you get. You're like, damn, I didn't know that shirts could be this soft type shit. So
Yeah, this is the one. This
very
is the one. But yeah, I I got introduced to you initially through Mackenzie. She recommended that we have you on the show and uh, did a bit of a deep dive on your work, and I loved how it was kind of like that. I think it's called Y2K. Is that the name for the style?
yeah. Y2K core.
Yeah,
There's so many terms for it, but Y2K core. Yeah.
it's like
Neo
old.
Y2K core. If we're being pretentious and specific.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, this like old school, like the early 2000s Windows, like back when all we had was Microsoft Paint, type of move to it. Wait, how do I? Oh, I can't just like click on it. It just puts me back on the homepage. I'm trying to see some examples of your stuff.
Yeah, there's actually, if you do go to the homepage, there's a gallery, and a ton of my stuff is there, but it also highlights, yeah, a bunch of other artists.
Oh yeah, right on.
It's just a wall. It's long wall of images. It might take a little bit to load in, but let me get this. Okay, I can see what you're looking at.
Yeah, and a lot of Miladies too. I noticed that there's a lot of crypto in the kind of stuff that you guys do. Now this is part of a collective, from my understanding.
Yes, absolutely. So this is, I don't want to. I don't want to be, be egotistical, but like all of it is inspired by kind of what I kicked off here. So, um, I would say like 75% of this is my artworks, but like that Milady you see there is a derivative artwork. Um, I don't know how familiar you are with the NFT space or Miladies and specifically, and like all the derivatives that came after it, where it's just these derivative after derivative works. But some of our members have made their own. So, yeah, I included a ton of a mashup of like all the stuff that we've done, but it definitely kicked off with like I had a concept, I had an idea. I kind of spoke about it for a while, but I didn't want to be one of those idea guys that's just talking and not doing. So I literally led by example and was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to show you that this is going to get a lot of attention because I believe in the idea." Um, and then like just took that proof of concept and have been pushing others to do it, basically with that same formula ever since. So it's all within our universe. We're making like a extended Marvel extended universe.
Right on. So when you say Miladies were the first, like, was that like the first notable like NFT to kind of have this like interchangeable like hats, scenery, like clothing kind of aspect to it? Because like from Bored Apes, that was one of the ones that I remember that like initially popped off on the scene, and then also I think they're called Crypto Punks, and then there's also I think Crypto Funks, which is like slightly different. Um,
That's a
I
deriv.
I
Yeah.
I I know very little about Milady. It's just, the whole thing just seems so mysterious, and like the few times that I've asked people about the lore, um, I always just get like just meme answers. It's never like detailed. I've tried looking up like any information on like how this started, what the org is, and I guess it's just like it's one of those inside jokes that's like you gotta be in on it.
It's the end of the internet. Yeah, it is the ultimate inside joke. That's why you'll never get like and I even shy away from being the one because I'll get memed so hard and like just be trolled for being the guy to define it. I have been though. I've been on stream been being the guy to define Milady like in my own way. But I do have a really unfortunately deep understanding of it because it does get like fake and gay at the end of the day, as everything does. But
Hmm.
there's just layers of like psyops and like memery going on. So it's um a direct response to what you mentioned was Bored Apes, right? Almost unanimously, everyone that exists on CT crypto Twitter at this point um, really is against Bored Apes. They're not really a force even to be reckoned with in any way at this point. They've already they're cultural relevance as well as their reference even with our in our our circles is very, very all-time lows. But they did kick it off in the way of like they were the prototype for the entire like wash trading and like laundering thing that goes on with NFTs,
Mhm.
right? So it was all fake and gay. I don't know else to describe it other than that. To be honest with you, it was psyops. It was like none of the normies, what we call them, was wrong when they were like, "Hey, this is something smells fishy about this. This feels like it almost feels like that high art world stuff where it's all kind of laundering and
Mhm.
the art is subjectively priced and it sits in a Freeport, sits in one of those warehouses outside of an airport somewhere, and there's just all this weird stuff. NFTs are very, if you, it seems like you would know, through some your exposure through Outsider Supply and McKinsey and this, like you're probably pretty well versed in like these free ports and stuff and these import how you can import art and price art, and that is very literally it's very easy to explain NFTs and the NFT market to somebody that has exposure to that because it's just a rehash of that. It
Mhm.
very literally is like it just a, oh, we'll take that method and reinvent it digitally, so we can get around taxes and get around this and get around that. And what I call wash trading is essentially like Bored Apes was the first one to do it, and like everything has followed since then. There's very few honest NFT collections, truthfully. And what people do is we get five friends together. We have $500,000. Um, we mint out this collection, so it looks like this collection sold out very quickly. So that shows the illusion of demand, right? Just like the lemonade stand idea, you have four people standing outside the lemonade stand. More people are willing to stand outside and wait in line, and they think there's something going on there, right? So
Mhm.
we mint it out quick, and then I list mine that I bought or that I minted for a very high price, $50,000. Hit you up on Discord, hey bro, go buy mine for 50K right now. Boom, boom. You do. We send the money back. I can send the money back to you, right after you buy it. And this is normally what happens. But now on chain, and this is why the blockchain is an incredible technology, but it also allows for these kind of psyops to go on. Now on chain, people can see, oh, that sold for $50,000. That's what it's worth. We've now set the price. That's the floor price that they talk about. So now we've set
Mhm.
the price. The demand is there for $50,000. And so there's only two metrics that people are measuring in their heads: is their demand and how much is it worth, right? And you can make illusions very easily for all of that. So that's what Bored Apes did, and culturally, it pissed a lot of people off. It pissed a lot of internet people off. There still exists, like over on the like I host our website on NeoCities. It's actually some of the best web hosting you can get. It's like $5 a month, and you have like so much storage. It's crazy. You can make unlimited slash pages. It's crazy. Um, but their community, the social community on NeoCities, hates crypto, hates NFTs. Oh man. So Milady is kind of a response to these Tumblr core, 4chans for sure. Um, like the end of the internet, I say, because it's like where everybody ended up. Facebook even had some cultural relevance with memes and stuff, right? But everybody kind of got moved off of all these channels, and they ended up, one of a few places. Um, and Milady ended up, all these people ended up from 4chan, from Tumblr, from all these other message boards and stuff on Twitter because it was like kind of the most unhinged and the most chaotic. They saw the Bored Apes, and a lot of like the inner circle, the founding members of it, made a direct parody of the NFT culture. It's funny now because Miladies have become the NFT culture, kind of the arbiters of it, right? And the
Mhm.
biggest influence. But directly, it was just punk rock, like fuck Bored Apes and this whole movement. Excuse my language if we, you
No,
know,
no, by all means, dude.
um,
Feel free.
Okay, got you. But it was punk rock. It was in your face. It was like fuck Bored Apes. Like they are such that crypto bro, that Sperry topsiders, boat shoes on a yacht, like Rolex, fake Rolex,
Mhm.
just a lot of pageantry for the sake of doing so. And truly, it's predatory at the end of the day as well. It's predatory on people that, oh, you're gonna get rich, get rich quick type shit. So that's what I gravitated towards, and a lot of other people gravitated towards within Milady. It was just like unapologetically, like they're using the same mechanisms that could confuse a lot of people. They are using NFTs. They are using Ethereum heavily. They have their own meme coin, cult coin. So they use a lot of the same channels. And I really like the quote from Andor. It's like, I'm doomed to use the device of my enemy to defeat him. Right. So it's kind of that idea. But I digress. That is kind of the origins, kind of in spirit.
Interesting, yeah. Because from my understanding, like the part of the appeal for this kind of stuff for NFTs in general, especially like these kind of like trading card types, where you got this random combination of clothing and all these different aesthetic choices, is that it allows you entry into a sort of a social club.
Yeah,
And there
that's what it is.
was, I remember there was this video that somebody did. I think it was like an hour long breakdown of how the Ape Yacht Club uh had these weird like numerology and like conspiratorial things, and
They
I
did.
like I didn't know to what extent it was true because it was like it was popping off around the time that people were like it was the height of like social justice, and
Uh-huh.
people were just like looking for any reason to like cancel anybody. And so
Oh yeah.
somebody did like a real deep dive on like, oh, they use the number 1488 here, and if you look at this number and you add this and you subtract this, then you get this number, which is like a quote from Hitler. And I was like, well, I mean, like, to create something like that on such a scale, and to link it to something that is, like, so valuable in the digital space, like, that's such a volatile, um, bomb to plant,
Insane.
because the thing is, it's like I mean, there were headlines about, like, "Oh, Justin Bieber got a Bored Ape for 100K, Snoop Dogg got
Eminem.
this, Eminem, Snoop Dogg," like, all these people, were co-signing it, and it just makes me think, I'm like, I don't know to what extent all that conspiratorial stuff is true, because it's like, why would you ever like take the initiative, take it upon yourself to do something like that, that is eventually like it has a shelf life, because once people like there's enough people on the internet that are schizo that are going to be like, okay, I'm going to do a deep dive for the next like week and a half, get no sleep, try to get to the bottom of this. There's plenty of those kind of people. um
Oh sure.
and so
Yeah.
like it makes me think like,
You
why would
that's
anyone do
actually the
that?
moment. What you're describing there is what Milady captures really, really well. Actually, like they're using that. They're a bunch of internet veterans, and they actually, and I've kind of copied them in some ways, but I use that. They've used that what you just described, that rabbit hole kind of thinking. Like they know these schizos are looking for these dog whistles. So Milady
Hmm.
actually weaponized that in wake of the Bored Ape scandal, which for all intents and purposes is real. Like there's no denying that that stuff is in there, right? And that's
Hmm.
what I mean. Miladies are kind of, I don't want to say kind of, I'll say it like they are known online as the Nazis right now. And the reason being, I'm probably the first person to explain this, but you're not supposed to explain it. It's part of the post irony, like irony. But um, in the wake of the Bored Apes in that entire debacle, they wanted to parody it, but they embraced it. And the entire thing is be unapologetically like uncancelable, free speech all the fucking way. That's kind of the Milady Remilia ethos. So
Hmm.
when people came to them and were like, "Whoa, you're doing the same thing as Bored Apes," like you guys are the Nazis. They were like, "Yeah," like it was just an embracing of it. Just like, yeah, if this bothers you, we're going to just keep twisting the knife because
Hmm.
this is the internet. This is anarchy. This is untethered. This is unabashedly like they're not truthful. You come to find out all these people are actually brown. They're foreigners. They're from third world countries. They're Indian. They're Arabic. They're black. They're fucking
Oh, so I think with
Asian. They're like,
4chan. So yeah, if you go on the poll board, if you go in politics, it's like you just see the flags where people are like posting this stuff from. It's like, yeah, like most of these people are not
yeah,
Aryan, they're not white.
no, they're far from Nordic. They're far from Aryan. Yeah, it's in some esoteric ways, they do claim this is where it gets a little deeper, right? Because Indian people, the connection with Eastern mysticism and Nazism with Aryanism, it does come from Indo-European connections. And I've had to learn all this because people are telling me, "No, bro, it goes deeper," and all this. And there was quite a few Indians that joined the Nazis in an anti-colonial sense, and they kind of made their own lore up. And it is all hogwash at the end of the day. It's like this weird esotericism that it tries too hard. It's a bunch of um, Northern Indians wanting to be white, which is a thing that is across the world. Everybody kind of has that colorism going on. And India is has their own caste system. They have their own
Hmm. Hmm.
colorism. And the moment they had any chance to appeal to like a white, god and be like, "Oh, we're white too. Yeah, we're a little whiter than those guys down south." They did. They were like, "Yeah, we're Aryans, bro, for sure." Like, so it gets silly, but you can play into all these things. This is what I'm saying. That there's all these rabbit holes that even I went down because people are leaving the crumbs just to get you off of like kind of the path of what they're really doing. And what they're really doing is just having fun, trolling, yeah, trying to parody all this shit. But the Bored Ape one is just the weirdest one at the end of the day because they had the actual influence. They were the ones that had the in with the celebrities and everything, as you mentioned, and they did put like the SS stuff in and all this. So there was some underlying They should have. This is what Milady kind of taught them as well. Is they should have just leaned into it in a post ironic, like funny sense, and been like, yeah, we put it in there because like 4chan and like, all
Mhm,
right,
mhm.
but they didn't. Like they like denied it and were like, we don't know anything about that, and like try to do damage control and like still to this day, yeah, they still try to just deny all of that and act like it didn't happen. But it's yeah, there's this particular character, Todd Fine, that I've had quite a few interactions with. That his entire thing was like he was extremely pissed off about the Bored Apes, and so he came over to Milady because he's I don't even think he's Jewish actually. At the end of the day, I believe he's like Syrian. He might be Syrian Jewish. I don't know, but he was very upset at the anti-Semitism within Apes. He went into a Gucci store in Chicago and like knocked over a Gucci bag, had like some fit and was like recording. And he knocked over a Gucci bag. Gucci took him to court, was like suing him for all these hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the reason he did that is because Gucci had a collaboration with Bored Apes, right? So then the
Oh,
Milady community embraces this character, and he's some like Harvard educated or yeah, he's a Harvard alumni and everything. So he has some clout, academically, and he kind of used that to get in with this crowd. He's like, oh, the Miladies don't like the Bored Apes. I'll go with them. And he just found more and more like overt, like comedic anti-Semitism. So it spun this guy out forever. But he should be mentioned because like he's the one guy that like if anybody's wondering like why didn't anybody like get mad about this Bored Ape stuff, like there was a guy. He's out there, but the internet is just to me, and I think everybody should learn, it's just anarchy and chaos. And like if you're getting emotional about it, like you're being baited, you're losing.
oh yeah,
Whoever's baiting you is winning. That's what they want to do, you know.
interesting. Okay, so how is it that it like who then controls
How I
like
relate
this?
to that.
Well, no, no, like who controls like the spigot in terms of how these like NFTs are actually dropped? Is it just all like they just released like I don't know, here's like 1,000 at a time? Like, is there a central person that is behind this? Is it like dictated by the blockchain somehow? How is it that these things are even generated in the first place? Because like I'm guessing like okay, let's make like 100 different hats, 100 different backgrounds, 100 different faces, teeth, whatever, and then you just put it in some randomizer. You collect, mash them all up together, and then that. But like, is there a singular person that is actually behind making these designs and like choosing these releases, or like how does that even function?
Specifically from Lady, that is a point of contention on there was a team of like there was an artist that actually compiled it and put the traits together, and then there was like a visionary behind it, the infamous Charlotte Fang, that kind of had the idea and the concept and brought the team together. And that's the case in a lot of NFT collections. It takes multiple people. um, for myself, I just did one with multiple people, but I've done a bunch alone. I've taken the pilot seat and I wanted to have that control over it. So it is you can do it multiple ways, but this is generative NFT specifically. So you're talking about the trait NFTs where you're saying like the hat, they're also known as like PFP NFTs.
Hmm.
So I know I just said a lot of proprietary words, talking shop, but like they're PFP and they're generative. Generative is the method in which they're created. So specifically for like Solana, I do Solana. This is the OG stuff. This is like Ethereum, but specifically for Solana, you have platforms like Launch My NFT, which I've used. I sing their praises to the end of the earth. They consolidated all this and made it so much easier and gave us a front end to do so much of this. But you would have to use generative engines, like generation engines. And when I made some of my collections in my early NFT creation career on Ethereum, you had to pay a service quite a hefty fee, up to in the thousands of dollars some of the time, because they knew that you stood to make some money if you could get one of these things out there. But as the barriers of entry lower, things do get oversaturated, right?
Hmm.
Um, so we're kind of in that method now, but I digress on that point. It's just the generative aspect of it is very interesting, and I love it. So you get to choose the traits. You get to design. You can hand draw, or you can take pictures from the internet. Actual pictures of, or use AI to generate. However you get it, you choose what the hats are, what the shirts are, what the eyes are, what the faces are, what the skin color is, what the backgrounds are, all of that, right? And it becomes very fun to see. This is where people get clout within the scene as an artist, is like, oh, he chose these like really cool references. He put a Halo reference in there. He put a Gears of War reference. He's got a Gucci jacket, a Balmain. Like, you can show your fashion taste. That's what Milady did. They showed some fashion. They showed a lot of internet lore and internet history and like a mashup of all this internet core shit. So they're the first to do that. Bored Apes was what we call like line art, which is like or Fiverr art. which is like, you go hire an artist on Fiverr and they like
Mhm.
draw with a Wacom tablet and hard lines, like almost comic book stuff. But it doesn't. It's not. Milady, as you can see, there's no hard lines on this, and they did that purposely to make it look like hand drawn. Like when I first saw it, I was just like, "This is dog shit," you know. And you're supposed to get that idea of like, "Oh, this is like drawn by like a fucking, I don't know, like a 10-year-old kid with his left hand." Um, and it's the idea of like, that super high polished look that these collections were going for. All the derivatives of the board apes. There was like lazy lions, and then all these like everybody's, oh, it just has to be an animal and you have to draw it with like a hat on.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so they were like, you know, what if we gave like actual cool internet core references? So there's been 1,000 derivs, and that's no exaggeration, from Milady and inspired by the Remilios, Retardios. I'm sure everybody's seen Retardios, and at this point, there's so much crossover where these things have made it. But at the time when I found it, it was a more esoteric kind of, like I said, just the end of the internet. Hey, all these people ended up here. I literally had conversed with a lot of these people on message boards in different places at different times. And it was just, hey, we all ended up here and we're doing this crypto shit. And this is the edgiest um, representation of it, because that is a lot of the lure and a lot of the kind of negative connotation that overhangs the Milady thing and all that is they just have always leaned into the edginess. They've always leaned into the darker parts of the internet, and there's plenty of allegations to go around plenty of the characters around the top. And truthfully, they just kind of lead into them. They're just like, yeah, yeah, I'm uncancelable. The cancel will inherit the earth. So it's an interesting performance art, as well as it's beyond a little bit beyond performance art too, because they've made some quite a bit of money here. So always interesting. But yeah, we're downstream from punks. Actually has a huge influence in it as well. Like a lot of the punks were like the first alternative to the apes. So if you talk to a lot of the OGs that are still into Milady, or were at a point when it was like very culturally relevant, they would always give a lot of credit to the punks, and they'd be like, yo, these guys are cool. They understand this like Ethereum cypherpunk like anarchy mindset, which I'm with that. I'm always there.
Okay. And the CryptoPunks, did like do you know exactly like the timing of them? Was it also like an answer to Bored Apes, or was it just its own thing
It
from
was
the beginning?
pre-Milady. It was an answer to the Board Yet Apes, though. I do believe it was a response. It was kind of the first deriv PFP collection that was like, we're gonna do something different with the art and not be so like whatever you define Board Apes as. Be this is more internet core. It's pixel art. You know what I mean? It's familiar. It's simple. But it has more of that like edgy kind of vibe to it. So they still hold like reverent like relevance, I would say, with a lot of different collectors. There's a lot of different subcultures within crypto Twitter, crypto itself, right? And yeah, punks are still cool.
Yeah, and so now that the flipping hype, I mean, it hasn't gone away. I'm sure plenty of people still engage in that kind of stuff, especially with pump and dumps and pump.fun and all that. But from my understanding, like Milady, like they actually host events and raves that they do like around the world and different meetups and whatnot. Is there anything else like beyond that in terms of the community aspect of it?
Yeah, that's where I would say it's like, and even by their own admission, like it's on it had its moment. You know what I mean? And everything does, right? So they're not trying to like beat a dead horse or like drag it on. Um, I think there's a lot of fans of it and there's a lot of hanger-ons, but my movement specifically kind of was an answer to seeing the energy. We had a different energy, strictly the fact of like we weren't into the negative, right? We were much more positive. And there was a lot of subgroups popping up in the wake of like this power vacuum kind of. And it wasn't like mismanagement on Remilia's behalf, I would say. But just kind of like I said, a natural cycle, kind of a planned obsolescence, so they can get into other things. What I've learned specifically is you pigeonhole yourself really hard whenever you start in crypto, and you gain clout, or you gain any like no, any fame online, any attention online from the crypto sphere. It's very hard to break out of it. If you come from another place into it, it's very easy. You can come in and out very easy. You see the celeb coins and all this bullshit. But um, yeah, when you're known as like, oh, that's a crypto guy, that's a crypto project, that's an NFT project. They dealt with that even harder than I have. So they've worked with like Fruits Magazine in Japan. They do all this stuff. Truthfully, I'm not. not that I don't want to talk about them, I won't talk about their lore, but I'm not the greatest. I have my own issues kind of with like how it's all been handled and like the characters at the top. And at the end of the day, a lot of these things turn into a cool kids club, kind of like a lunch table. You know, you can't sit with us kind of energy.
Mhm.
So I am a fan of what they did culturally and what they do, but and I'm not trying to undermine them in any way, but just as they go right now, they're not as they had the raves, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, and it's no secret by being aligned with like leaning into the Nazi stuff, leaning into just ultra edgy white nationalists, like pure pure blue eyes, blonde hair, like and just certain characters that have influence within that just won't let it up. They had Vitalik Buterin, you know, the Russian guy that started Ukrainian, whatever he is,
Mhm.
the guy that started the theorem. They had him with the PF. He had him lay the PFP on, but he has since taken it off. He still has a banner. He still like plays nice with them, and he understands them now. But he also he understands them now, so he took the PFP off. If you get what I'm saying, like there's like this undeniable really good devs and really good builders and like really culturally influential people have the PFP and like subscribe to the ethos and like for different purposes and stuff. So you can't deny it, but it's not something that you like you take home to mom type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's especially for him. He was like, "Yeah, I can't." So I feel the same way, truthfully. I started 1333 as like a direct response to be positive online. With that negativity and with that kind of like black pilled mindset comes just a lot of drama and a lot of characters that are you're just interacting with a lot of people with ill intentions and they feed off drama and stuff. So I became a safe haven for like, hey, you guys can come here and not get scammed, not be influenced to like radical ideologies. We're not into anything radical. We do love Jesus. We are broadly religiously curious and like researching religion. And there was an aspect of that with Milady and that with network spirituality. They kind of co opted it from these other movements online. So we transmuted that energy ourselves. We're like, well, if you guys are going to lean into the negative and the edgy and everything, like we'll keep this angel spiritual energy, we'll keep that going, and we'll just hyperfixate on that, expand from that point on. So we definitely, yeah, that's part of like our community and what we do communally when we talk. And you see in the chat, we'll get a little edgy and memey, but we are way downstream from the spectrum. Like we're
Mhm.
way on the other side of the spectrum from so many CT group chats. I'm in like 30 CT group chats. I just left a dozen, so I was in like 40 at one point, and most of it is just heavy N-word use, like across the board, just for the sake of and shit. I'll say it. You know what I mean? But no, I'm just kidding. But it literally is that energy of like that CT. They're just you have to say it. You got to get it out of the way. People just will show up in a group chat and just N-word chain, N-word tower, just to like. It's almost like this like what is the nuclear? What do I want to say? Mutual destruction,
Mhm.
right? If you have this blackmail kind of in a way on each other and you get it out of the way, then nobody's gonna hold this and we can just all share the edgiest memes and say whatever we want and like really be ourselves. That undermines so much of crypto Twitter and crypto in general, though, that energy. To where you have, I mean, one of the biggest companies on Solana, Jupiter, they have this cat. He's like this cat personality. And he has like I could be talking about he has over 100,000 followers. He might have 200,000. I want to say 250, something like that. Gets a ton of engagement. He's like the head of this. Yeah, he's like the mascot of Jupiter. You might find him on if your school far enough. They have like this cat. He's like an astronaut cat. I'm sure they've retweeted him at some point. At one point, he just dropped the hard R on Twitter as part of like this marketing ploy, because like it's such like this meme coin culture shit. Like yeah, yeah, there's still the cats. Yeah. So at one point, from like the official account, like it's got the gold badge, it's got the, and this is not an isolated incident at this point. At one point, it was like every crypto company was just like, hey, we got to say the most edgy shit. We'll say something anti-Semitic or anti-black or like just say the word, you know? And it was like a rite of passage, gamer word shit, you know? It got crazy. So I do stand as like an anti that in some way. I can't deny that so many of my friends and so much of like the internet is dominated by it at this point. But I mean, you see it with the Groypers, you see it with Kanye, you see it with. By the time that Kanye even had his whole crash out, like we had seen all that. You know what I mean? We were just like, oh, he's jacking our swag. Like, you know, the whole CT thing. Like, what?
Mhm.
He's just, you know what I mean? It's played out to me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like
Is this the cat?
it's nice and all when you're like 16 or something and you figure out like 4chan for the first time and you're just having a blast, or you just discovered what's his name, Gypsy Crusader, and his streams that he did.
Exactly.
Um, but like, it gets to a point where you're like, okay, well, I got bills to pay. I'm trying to socialize, maybe find a wife, like settle
There you
down, like
go.
like
You're
it's
scaring the host,
yeah,
literally.
exactly, exactly. Like it just it gets to a point where it's like, all right, guys, like what are what are we doing here? Interesting.
That's part of the appeal. I'll say, not to keep harping on this, but it is part of the appeal because it's, I mean, every day that I log on, you see the memes nonstop, and it could be anything from a hardcore Hitler edit to just somebody being vaguely racist or being like, just saying they're racist for the sake of, you know what I mean, being edgy in that way. So it is appealing because it is a callback to those times that you're talking about when I was 16, when I was on Xbox Live and anything went and everybody was saying everything.
Hmm.
And even on like MySpace and like these unmoderated social media platforms. And I wasn't the biggest 4chan guy, to be honest with you, but I knew of it. It was culturally relevant. I definitely, as part of my lore goes, I was in anonymous as like a 14 to 16-year old, you know, as far as a 14, 16-year old could be, but I was very aware of what they were doing at the time and very wanted to be very involved in the digital sense. And I showed up to some of the stuff locally that they did, you know, Occupy Wall Street. That's it burdened into all or blossomed into all of that, and it kind of blossomed into the Bernie Bro movement. So I was more on that side of things. You know, I was a little more liberal as a young man, but very very aware of everything that was going on. I was on Xbox Live, you know, saying the bad words, and like I understood where all that energy was. So when it comes back around in my late 20s and I'm like, oh, all these like you know, early to early 20s to early 30s, this is like this age group of people, they're all online like rehashing that Y2K. I call it Y2K, but it's really mid 2000s energy, you
Hmm.
know. It's very attractive for a lot of people. We you know, we really saw some of the most famous people down to, you know, the most irrelevant people. They were all kind of captivated by that energy.
Yeah, I mean, and then also it's a direct response to the infantilization of the internet. I mean, like most online games now,
Yeah,
like I think Call of Duty was like the most famous one where they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just straight up going to be recording the voice chats and automatically banning people for saying certain words," and even like
they
other
got me the first
games.
day.
Yeah, they're very like just anal about it. And while I understand the perspective of the company to do that, to just like make it soft edged and just baby proof the whole thing. At the end
Be
of the
for
day,
everyone.
like if you can't hang on the internet without hearing that kind of stuff and it triggers you and like it ruins your day or it ruins your week, like that it's not the place for you, man. Might as well
Get
just
off
go
the
out and
internet.
yeah, you might as well just go out and touch some
Yeah,
grass because like this is the that's the place for it, you know. And it's not coming from
well
like
said.
one country or the other or one racial group or the other. Like anyone can catch it,
It's
anyone can
everybody.
say it.
Yeah,
It's
it's everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
could be literally anybody. So yeah, no, I
That's
totally
the energy
understand.
that I stand by. That we're trying to remind everybody of that, though, that it's anybody and everybody. It comes from everywhere. And that way is the true, and I've always seen it, not always, but since I was a young angsty teen, I've always seen the true disarming of all this racist shit. You cannot live a life that is fucking completely devoid and say, I don't see color and it's not real. It undermines every single system that exists in the entire world, in every single country on an ethnic, religious, and color basis. It does. There's no doubt about it. Now you can go throughout your life and not think about it prominently and everything, but it's there. It doesn't matter if you ignore it, right? And the better thing to do is you won't be so scared of it if you just condition yourself to it and disarm each other in the way of I have the most wild, and 1333 is a testament to it, the most racially, nationally diverse group of people across the board and have been like that through the internet and through my IRL life, through exactly this being like, you know, telling the edgy jokes like, oh, the Mexicans do this, oh, the blacks do this, oh, the Jews do this, oh, the Native Americans do this, whatever. Everyone got it equally. We all went in each other, and it actually made us stronger, right? We actually bonded over this, like, hey, you're showing some awareness of my culture. Oh, you have that reference. You know what tahine is. You know what the seasoning is. You know what you know, whatever it is, taquitos are. You know what this is. You know what I mean? And you're making a joke about it. Thank you for actually knowing about my culture, because most people would just call me, you know, a dirty beaner or something, right? So I've always stood by that. That the only way to disarm this shit online is to lean into it in a way of like you're not affected by it, and you're willing to just if it comes your way, fire some back, man. If somebody calls you a dirty Irish potato farmer, you fire it right back at them. Everybody's got something. So
Yeah, no,
I just don't like when people
absolutely.
hyper focus on one. Everybody's got to get it. Everybody gets a turn like South Park type shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was like part of the ethos of, I mean, what made the internet great. It wasn't that like everyone was going off and spouting whatever they wanted. It's that it was the only place where anyone could get it, and it was just, I don't know, it was just something liberating about it. Not about like being hateful, but just about like joking about it. Like growing up, like I remember, like my family immigrated to Canada, but I grew up in a very like multicultural like community. I learned how to play cricket before I learned how to play baseball. Um,
Hmm.
and like everyone just like clowned on each other, and like you said, it strengthened the bonds between us, because there wasn't really
Just
anything that
jabbing,
was, yeah, there wasn't
sparring.
anything that was like off limits. There wasn't anything that was like, oh, crossing a line. Like obviously, okay, like when you start talking about like someone's mom or something, like, okay, sure, like
Yeah,
then
that's all.
you're
Yeah, I'm
getting
talking about my
personal.
sister. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But everyone, like, yeah, it's this embracing of like, look, at the end of the day, like we all have our stereotypes, and we can either like sit here and
I
like be sad
learned.
about it and mad about it, or we can actually just, I don't know, just
I
laugh
actually
at each
learned
other.
multiculturalism through that. Like the jokes are what taught me a lot. When somebody would like make or even some of the slurs, honestly, you're like, what does that mean? And then you look up this, like, truthfully, you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I would actually learn a lot of, because then we would get into a competition of like trying to be more esoteric with the references and be like, oh, your mom doesn't, do something that's really culturally specific to Mexicans.
Hmm.
Your mom doesn't use fabuloso when she cleans on Sunday. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh,
Yeah,
and if that's coming from a white boy or a black dude, it's 10 times funnier because they're like, how did you know that? Like, what the, and like, I remember the one time it was a self awareness moment. Throughout my life, I've been immersed in many cultures, but I was immersed in the hood, and we had a recording studio. We were making rap music. I was part of a producer collective. It was like myself and 11 other black dudes from the hood, right? And so we would have roast sessions, like, and just roast each other on. They would, I mean, mama jokes, everything it was full tilt, full tilt. And at some point, I was like, we were talking about showering or hygiene or something, and I was like, well, white people don't use washcloths, and they just started dying. They were like the self-awareness there. They were like, he knows that we make fun of that. Like he knows that black people just clown the shit out of white people for not using washcloths ever. And I was like, he's like, yeah, what do y'all use? And I'm like, we use what are they called? I want to call it a fupa. It's called
oh,
not a
trying to remember, oh my god,
those things.
yeah, it's like a
A
sponge or whatever
spongy.
it's called. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have a word for that sponge. They said, "You use those shits." And I'm like, "Yeah, we do, I guess." Like honestly, I've had showers where I didn't use anything. I'm using my hands in there, hands and soap and hot water, and they're like, "No, like they actually that's a culture thing. I actually to this day I use a washcloth every time I'm in the shower now because I was like, they're onto something here, but it's not taught for whatever reason as a white American thing. You use like a sometimes you get one of those like volcanic rocks. Sometimes you want to exfoliate. You use some type of exfoliating thing, but not necessarily like a washcloth. It's weird. I don't know. Weird
Damn.
cultural references, man. And they teach you the differences about people though, and regional differences as well. Like I'm from a very specific region, so there's just things that you're like, hey, this makes me unique. This is cool, right?
Right on. Yeah. So just to shift gears, so the 1333 community, was it an inception of yours, or you decided to do it with like a group that you knew through CT, or?
It was a group effort for sure. I'm definitely the general, the 5 star as it stands, and willingly take that moniker. I don't want to be egotistical or like a megalomaniac or a charlatan or all the words, of someone that is full of themselves. But um, I started it with my friends that had a lot more experience within crypto Twitter and these social circles, like specific social circles that had a lot of movement, if you will, and were dictating the culture as it went. Um, so my friend Hire and my friend Icy Bear, she goes by Icy or Icy Bear. She's involved in there's actually a chain called Bear Chain, and it's all bear themed. Um, and it's live now. It's doing pretty well. She's like their social media manager. She makes a lot of content. She advertises for them, markets for them, um, and keeps like the Discord community going. But it's like an Animal Crossing style game that's bear themed, right? So Berachain actually had a lot of clout when I first came around, within Ethereum, within the Miladies, within all these like existing NFT communities and stuff. A lot of funding, a lot of like what we call VCs, venture capitalist money, was involved in a lot of these different chains and stuff. So um, I saw her relevance, and I think everybody knows Mog now, which is insane. Like the term Mog, as well as like the Pit Viper movement, it is a
Mm.
meme coin. It's started on Ethereum, crossed over to kind of teapot, what they call like the Silicon Valley kind of tech bro part of Twitter. Um, but yeah, that was a Milady thing specifically. A group of Milady started Mog as a Ethereum based meme coin, and originally it was Hunter Biden smoking his crack pipe. John McAfee was the other mascot of it. So it was just a wild coin. Um, yeah, and I just mentioned that because that's how these things all yeah, Icy actually ran some of the first Mog spaces, like X spaces, and at the time X spaces, I think they still have a lot of relevance, but at the time they were you would get 400, 500 people on a Friday night, Saturday night, when people generally it's a downtime for the internet. People are out actually enjoying themselves as they should, right? But Icy has a captivating voice. She's good in conversation. She knows the lore. She's got good stories. So she was running these spaces to like great fanfare, and we transmuted that energy over to basically our own endeavor because it wasn't something that she had too much of an equity or a stake in, and we all kind of realized that we were doing these different functions for these different meme coin communities, different crypto projects, in these different NFT projects, and we're like, we have all the knowledge, we're doing all this boots on the ground work, like let's Voltron this shit, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Let's combine forces, and yeah, we did. It's been a good time.
And so the aim of this collective, do you guys just like pump out NFTs? Do you just like make all this digital art, or what is the what's the mission statement?
What ties it together is definitely digital art. NFTs, like I was saying before, it pigeonholes you so hard, just because the average person will be like, "Oh, you're a scammer. You're a third world scammer or something," or
Mm-hmm.
this is all a fake thing. You're stealing. Bad. A lot of negative energy around NFTs, unfortunately. So we do. Part of me has been like, I do believe in the technology and all the I went on about the cypherpunk anarchy ethos. I really do believe in that decentralized ethos. Um, and so part of me wants to be the champion and be like, oh, I'll prove you guys wrong. Like we're actually very spiritually aligned. We've never scammed anybody. Like I'm doxxed. I show my face. I go about things a lot differently. I know the anons. I work with them, but I can kind of be the middle ground or the liaison. That's like, hey, I'm a real person. This is you can do this shit. We can onboard people for once. Um, but part of me is also like, hey, I just don't want to be pigeonholed by it and like dragged down by it because I think you probably know if you've been in some of these subcultures, they don't let you leave. It's a mafia type of thing, blood in, blood out. So like, oh, you want to be brand new and you want to be, appeal to the normies, like fuck you, and so they'll try to undermine you. It is kind of crabs in the bucket in that way. Um, but yeah, what ties us together is digital art. We're all musicians. We're all digital artists. We all are interested in crypto, I would say, and that means from 1% interested all the way up to 100%. We have people that we just onboarded literally last week, that are just normies, walking the streets of New York trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Solana and XRP and Bitcoin, and they keep seeing these signs and these machines and these NFT stickers, and they're just trying to get a sense of it. So we function really as like we're for the OGs, we're for the newcomers. The mission statement is to guide people. Crypto is a dark forest. We are a lantern amongst it. We're big on digital integrity. As far as our art goes, we want aesthetic dominance. So it's about beauty and integrity to us. We're not going to scam you. We're not going to lie to you. We're not making grotesque things. We're not making edgy things. Truthfully, might get into goth and emo, a little edge there, but it's supposed to be productive. There's too much negativity online, so we all get together and put our minds towards that.
Interesting. I see that like there's a section here where you guys like have some classes or resources that you give to people.
Yeah, yeah. If you click that log on button, it goes into the what originally was a university. That was like actually a function after our NFT project. The Angels was my NFT project to kind of kick this all off. This was part of the membership, so this was gate kept before, but now it's just open to the public. But this is repositories on yeah, just knowledge. Like our PDF library is just a lot of it pulled from archive.org, but a lot of it like scanned from people that are like wizards of the internet that you only see once or twice in your journey on the internet. But they've dropped crazy PDF scans of like different books and textbooks and yeah, I don't know. We made a cool repository of like internet knowledge and like very relevant, up to date knowledge. So this can teach you about meme coin trading, esoteric stuff like imagery and art. It has links to like software and like a lot of freeware. I'm big on like archive.org stuff and freeware stuff, open source stuff, um, and just like kick it off for people. Like I'm trying to boil down essentially like 10 years of my internet journey as like a 14 to 24-year-old and where you really could unabashed like no bumpers on the internet, explore it, stumble upon Tumblr, all this like AOL Instant Messenger, all that shit was like so much influence and just kind of give that back to people because everything is very, like you said, like what do you say, infantilization.
Hmm.
It's like so you go on 3 apps and that's the internet to you. What? We used to go on bookmark hundreds of websites,
And it's all the
hundreds,
same
if not
layouts,
thousands.
all the same settings, all the same everything.
Yeah, like so that's a big part of our mission, man. It's just like positive and like just bring it back to the people that like explore, make stuff, like share your shit. It feels so good to do so.
Yeah, I think it's a tide that's turning like in a good way because there's this concerted push from, I mean, whether it's governments or corporations to just centralize everything. I mean, like recently I heard that the UK is now forcing people to provide digital ID when it comes to signing in for stuff like Spotify, even like YouTube, and it's under the guise of like, oh, we're just trying to like look out for your safety. It's like, well, there's nothing stopping me from going to 4chan and seeing the absolute most depraved acts
Unhinged,
of
worst.
humanity. Like, there's nothing
Yeah,
stopping me from downloading Tor browser and just looking like through the dark web to just see the most depraved stuff. Um, Anybody with enough know-how or just googling can find it, no problem. I mean, there's entire subreddits dedicated to finding these resources. So like it doesn't take an idiot, or sorry, it doesn't take a genius to find the anarchist's cookbook. Like you can find it. It's out there, you can find it.
exactly. Yeah, it's
um
like yeah,
so it
that's like
just
mainstream now.
yeah, so it seems very strange that they're using that justification, because that's obviously not the case. Like, you're not actually providing any form of safety. You're just enabling
Yeah, and
your tracking.
the function of the government was not supposed to be to protect the people from themselves. It was to be to do the will of the population, the populace. Like a populist leader has always won. That's why we those of us that knew that Trump was going to win the first and the second time, and the time in between was peculiar, to say the least. But um, a populist is just it's going to win. That is the function of government. That is maybe not for everybody, maybe not even for the highest intellectuals that are involved in government, but for your average person, your mid curve person, your median, right? Not your average, but your median. That's even more important. They just care about the populace. Like that. What is the most consensus thing, right? And clearly, when they jailed the guy that made Silk Road, right? Speaking of Tor browser and the dark web and all that, populist opinion wasn't that that was a cool thing to do. They've actually freed Ross now, right? And that was a libertarian charged thing. But like across the board, you just ask a normal person, they're just like, oh, he was just enabling like basically tax-free, like peer-to-peer transactions, right? You can explain LimeWire, Napster to all these people peer-to-peer. Like you can explain Facebook Marketplace. You used to be able to sell guns on there, and it's a very legal thing to do in the United States. Is sell a gun to another citizen, and you don't have to tell the government about it. You don't have to run a background check. That's a constitutional right, right? So you get into these weird things where they banned all these things that we are supposed to have, and that's why we supposedly fight wars, and our brothers go and die, and our cousins and uncles and grandfathers went to die for these rights, right? That the internet is the last bastion where you can actually like express a lot of these rights, right? Because it's where all the action and attention is going on, interaction is going on, and then they take it from you, right? So it's very every show on Toonami and every cyberpunk anime and including the Matrix, everything in the 90s just was warning us of this, right? Like
Hmm.
we're here now. You are here on the map and we're here. And Yeah, in our own, like, love pill kinda way, and I feel outsider supply and, like, Maya world and all that, in our own way, we're doing that same function. It's no coincidence. I don't claim to have a monopoly over this, like, egregore, this movement that's happening online where everybody's like, "Hey, we need to decentralize this shit and give it back to people. This has gotten really weird." You also don't need to be strictly yourself online. I don't need to be Kyle Steinkoff for everyone all the time. I can be Coyote. I can be and for me, it's a little I'll say it's a little easier because I've always made music and been an artist and had this pseudonym, online. Um, but I think everybody deserves that, right? Like you don't have to be like an insurance salesman and be like, this is the high school I went to and this is my degree and like LinkedIn. The LinkedIn internet is dead. And you even have Elon himself, the Elon Musk, we all know his name and face, but the guy himself, the doxed of all doxed, he's being like, yeah, LinkedIn's dead. He's tweeting all these LinkedIn memes and shit. Um, and you know what I mean? You see the alt right movement and these groypers and like they won they won an election actually behind this anon stuff. So I have mixed feelings on all that. I digress. On anon and like doxed and being yourself and pseudo all this, but we need to give the people power back to the people, and you don't need to get fired from your job just because you said something edgy online 5 years ago or 5 minutes ago. I stand by that forever.
No, of course, and like the other flip side of it is like, would you rather have those people be out in the open and you know exactly who they are, or like you just they're out
Sure.
there, or do you want them to go back into their paywall locked forums where nobody can see it on public access? Like, I'd much rather have all those people that want to like shout all that profanity and be as crazy as they want to be out in the open, so that at least we know exactly what they're talking about, we know exactly
Yeah.
what the level of discourse is at. I Sunlight is the best
It
disinfectant.
actually
Like, you
it
absolutely need
does.
that.
And what we were saying earlier about a lot of the kind of what they call like getting the slurs out of the way or getting these words that trigger people out of the way, it actually has led me personally and so many people I know to much more constructive discourse. Because then we can actually have underlying conversations on the cultural discourse and the culture clash that's going on everywhere right now. It's like we put all these bigotry, racism, what do I want to call it? What do they call that? Like the actual word for racism is prejudice.
Mm.
Prejudice, right? So we assign all of these different like labels to it, but at the end of the day, it's culture clash, right? And if you want to get to the bottom of culture clash, where people are put off by different things the cultures do and they don't align, you have to have the conversation. Like, why do you guys do that? And why do we do that? And like, oh, it comes from this place. And it's probably because we all struggled and we were like, kind of all oppressed at some point, like it's not an oppression Olympics. You can get to really, really constructive places. Similarly, when you're anonymous and people aren't trying to hold it against you that you're from this area, this zip code, and you're privileged in this way, or you're poor, you know what I mean? Like you can really just have human discourse, and everybody's trying to have that online right now in their own ways.
No, absolutely, and more power to them. Because, like, look, I don't have to agree with what these people are saying, but they should certainly have the right to say it. I mean, even Twitter is like, I've come of the mind now that it's easily like one of the more one of the more free social platforms where you can talk about this stuff. But even so, like, there's been moments where like a swath of accounts get banned because they latch on to a certain topic, and it's like, well, hold on, like, do we really want to just like deny these people that voice? It's like, well, how is it that we can have the the grand Ayatollah in Iran, that he has an account,
Calling
like
the 10th
yeah,
man.
the IRGC, the CCP, they all have like major like government like gold checkmark accounts. They can,
Taliban.
yeah, like
Yeah,
Taliban has a Twitter. It's like, okay, so we let those people on that actually like have committed crimes against humanity,
war
and
crimes, literal war crimes.
like we can't, like, even like to hit it back in the U.S. Like, yeah, plenty of presidents have like officially commit war crimes. There's not like a designation. There's no trial. There's no like nothing has come of it.
Tribunal. Yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, like they should still have access to the discourse. They should still have access to say stuff. Which is why, like, when they,
Like you said, I want to know what the Ayatollah of Iran thinks about us. Like it
yes,
helps to know that he wants us to die. That's great. Like, thank you. I know where my enemies are. Like,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like, this is I mean, even like in the context of art, whenever people come out and they say, "Oh, like this is hateful," or "Oh, this is like subjective or racist or what have you." It's like, well, okay, but do you want that person to just be in their room and be a failed artist and be angry and hold all that resentment? Like, look, last time that happened, like what, some odd 80 years ago, that didn't exactly work out
It didn't go well.
for the world. It didn't go well. So like you
It
can't
plays out
have,
in a microcosm.
yeah,
Like,
you
when you
can't have
isolate
that.
people like that, you don't let them express, you have the school shooters, truthfully. And I'm not trying to like
Well, no, but
I'm not trying
that's
to make
true.
an argument or advocate for it, you know what I mean? And be like, this is an excuse for why people do it, but it's just the reality of it. It's the truth. If you isolate people socially in that way, and you don't let them express, you don't let them get through those edgy phases where they say the slurs, they say the bad things, and let them come out of the other side, then they're going to become these disdainful, bitter, full, or full of bitter, just resentful, and they're going to try to hurt other people. In this day and age, it's just too enabled to that point, and immediately everybody goes to like, well, they shouldn't have access to guns and all this. And you go, yes, we live in the most enabled world ever. They also have access to a fucking 747 jet and a Ford F-150 that can plow through like 7 houses before it stops. So the most enabled world ever, for sure, right? But what is the underlying thing? You're cutting people off from expressing themselves and going through that human journey of it. Like that's exactly what the internet, like, that pendulum swung so hard where they just censored everything and they went so liberal and they went so like cancel culture. And for me, it went a little too extreme, but that's what you get with a pendulum. You can't try to stop the pendulum mid swing and be like, push it back. It's going to swing just as extreme as you pushed it, right? So this is the correction, and I'm an advocate for we're gonna settle in the middle somewhere, right? As it goes, it goes.
Yeah, no,
We'll get back.
absolutely. And like I'm not of either mind, like whether it's like left and right. I've transitioned to like either side in my youth, as everyone kind of does. I don't really think that anyone sticks with a single philosophy for the rest of their life, but um you can't make that transition, and you can't really like find like a good middle ground if there's no room to like experiment or make mistakes or to make outrageous statements. It doesn't really happen like that. I mean, there's
Doesn't.
really no
You
way.
cancel people. It's
Yeah, like there's really no way
bad.
to come to a new idea if you're not even allowed to express like the wrong ideas. And I understand like this like motherly instinct to want to protect everyone and to be safe. Like I get it. I understand where that comes from, but you're ultimately just you're spelling out your doom. And
Hmm.
it's only a matter of time before it implodes on either the left or the right. It doesn't matter. Anyone can get it.
People forget that whatever you judge others for, you're setting the boundaries to judge yourself. You will be judged along the same lines that you judge others for, right? It
Yeah, the
is. I
revolution
mean,
eats
this is
its own
cliche.
every time.
Exactly. Yeah, this is cliche, but it's not. Like, people really forget a lot of these cliches. The reason why they're cliche: treat others how you want to be treated. Well, whatever you, I'm a big advocate that we should not judge others. Right? I cast analyzations of people, and that dictates on how I will interact with them, or will whether I'll interact with them at all. Some people are just too toxic, too chaotic, and too negative to deal with. There's no doubt about that. Just evil. Evil exists, but judgments, actually casting someone to a judgment, to me, is casting them to hell. Truthfully, that is the judgment. We get it from the Bible, right? We get it from God. He is the ultimate judgment, right? And Tupac famously said, only God can judge me, right? I think somebody else did, but my boy Tupac said it, right? Only God can judge me.
Hmm.
And I really believe that. Like, I really believe that if you go around, we call it holier than thou, or egotistical, thinking that you can cast judgments on people and ca- you know uh condemn them to hell. That's the worst thing. That's, even theoretically or spiritually, that's worse than killing someone's body, right? Actually murdering their body would be condemning their spirit to hell, their soul to hell, eternal damnation. First off, to think a human has that power, very pretentious, right? Like, we can condemn people to hell. Like, what? No, we're all on an equal playing field there, right? So that's why I always say, like, these judgments, and people really do. I'm not trying to be teachy and preachy here, but I think that people just conflate it so deeply, where you're allowed to analyze these situations. You're allowed to, have an understanding of what's going on and what these people are and what they're inclined to do from their past. But a judgment is a final thing, right? That's why the judge drops the gavel type shit and gives you your sentence, and then the
Hmm.
appeal process is rough, but a judgment is final, man. And so I really, whatever end of any spectrum you're on, I really don't cast judgment. I just try to understand. I seek to understand. Some of my understandings come from a place of like hardline opinion. Like, yeah, I don't fuck with that. You know what I mean? Like, we're all allowed to do that. That's, yeah, we're all allowed to have opinion, but we would do better to, understand more to judge, man. That's deep. That hurts.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is permanent. People change their opinions all the time. They change their philosophies all the time, and to not recognize that fact is just a disservice to everyone. I mean, like even
Mm.
when Kanye had his crash out, um, I was looking at that and everyone's like, "Oh man, bad day to be a Kanye fan." It's like, man, you guys were all in the early 2000s bumping and grinding to harder, better, faster, stronger. Like everybody was
Oh,
doing that, all right? Like
so yeah,
let's
like
not get it twisted. We all loved Kanye. Like, okay, he's having his phase now. Like, okay, well, where does that come from? Part of it is like, yeah, he's 100% like leaning into some kind of extremism based on like the people that he has around him, or the meds that he's on, or the meds that he's not taking rather, or like
performance art.
there's yeah, or performance art. There's like a crazy conspiracy theory where like his physical trainer was linked to like an MK Ultra esque like psyop unit that was like based in Canada or something, and then at one point he was somehow involved with what was it? There was somebody on his crew that was like pushing him to like get addicted to essentially like laughing gas, and then apparently there was like some kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
cartel connection behind it. So, anyways, like the whole
that
thing,
was
it
real.
just
Yeah.
obviously like it played out on the public square, and everyone is like, "Oh, I'm gonna have my hot take. I'm gonna have my 5 minutes of fame and diss Kanye." Like, oh my god, like, yeah, okay, you chose the easiest path to like to just label someone like that, but like there's a person underneath that. Like, he's not just some like crazy kook. Like this happened for a reason, and
Really
that's
important person too.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's worth analyzing. The guy that was like the head culture maker. Like there's that one there's this comedian that
Yes.
was like the Kanye crash out. This isn't unexpected. This has been a long time coming. I mean, initially when he was like selling his first album to the studios, he was walking around Sony offices. I think there's like this famous story where he just like kept trying to get people to play his sound, and he just kept going like whether it was an intern or like a bigwig, he was just walking up
Yeah.
being like, "Hey, like listen to my music, listen to my music," and everyone was telling him, "Kanye, you're crazy. Nobody would ever do that." Becomes the biggest rapper of all time. Uh,
Period.
Tries to get into clothing. Everyone's like, This is crazy. Like, what are these moon shoes? These like super puffy coats that cost like 2K? Like, what are you doing? This is insane." Gets like a
How about that?
multi-billion-dollar deal with Adidas and all these other labels.
Nike and Adidas.
The Nike,
It's
Adidas, you
just
name it,
crazy. And
right?
Gap. Yeah, just crazy.
Does commercials with Kobe. Like the guy was a cultural icon.
Insane.
Still is to this day. Um,
Still is. Yeah, yeah. He's
like
lost none to me,
he's
but
touring. He's touring in like Korea or Japan or something like that.
China.
Yeah, like he's
He's
done.
done
Yeah,
huge shows in Korea and China. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they
yeah.
love him.
I mean, that's a whole conversation in itself too. That the Eastern world doesn't give a shit about the Western cancel culture, and or specifically about kind of the anti-Semitic movement, if you will call it that. Whatever is going on there, they particularly don't care about it. And you should remember what side of that war they were on. You know what I mean? You think China and Japan give a shit about
Yeah.
insensitivities of World War II? Like no, they had to call a truce on that a long time ago to move on. Um, but yeah, that's a conversation. But like you said, I was two aspects. I am a Kanye fan. I think we're all Kanye fans. To speak to that, to reaffirm your point, everyone is. He was so culturally pop culture. He is so well known, so household name that we're all a Kanye fan to a varying degree. I was a very deep Kanye fan. I really did idolize the guy and his music, and took a lot of inspiration and motivation behind him. Specifically, what he did with being kind of the weird black guy, the black, or the backpacker they called him, and like having the Jesus walks and doing things different and that, right? Um, Orchestral type stuff, and just, yeah,
Mhm.
I no doubt I'm a Kanye nerd, like the Kanye to the forum and all that shit. When this finally did happen, we all did see it coming. And since I've been on the internet for so long and I've seen the Groyper movement, we saw him hanging out with Nick Fuentes before this. And like, it was just inevitable of like all these things converging. It was the internet, it was him. He's always been relevant on the internet. The internet became more relevant than ever in pop culture, and everything collided at once. And of course, the, whatever you want to call it, but the conversation around Jewish influence in all kinds of industries, as well as the military industrial complex, came to a fever pitch by their own doing, came to a fever pitch, right? If you want to make big moves, you're going to get big attention. And it all just collided at once. And for me, like, uncanny leading up to this, actually. Like, I was very intimately involved in the music industry and like certain record label, Sony Records, you know, headed by Clive Davis and like all these characters, and was uncovering my own kind of thing. And it all repeats itself as we do. It's not like, you know, like you said, that one painter didn't say, you know, this is 19 fucking 32 and 31 or whatever. But you go about it and you start seeing these reoccurring themes. So for me, I just kept seeing reoccurring themes. It's not that I was having a schizo yarn board and I was like, I'm at the center of it, you know. That's what I caution against.
Mhm.
But I saw that I was like, if I'm coming to these conclusions, other people are too. That's why I'm being influenced, and you know, I'm gonna influence them, and it's just all this big feedback loop, you know. And when it finally reached Kanye, you're just like, oh, that's the inevitable. Like the feedback loop got to him, you know what I mean? The spirit ball energy, like we all kind of gave it to him, and he's like the mouthpiece for like the culture, you know. And it went out to him, and I was like, damn, like you didn't think he would go that far, but like those of us that knew. I was like, no, he would go that far, like if you know of like Come Town too, with like Adam Freeland and like Nick Mullen and Stavros Halkias, and like kind of
Mhm.
that kind of prefaced a lot of this Red Scare and all that. We saw it coming, bro. For 2 days, I followed the whole thing, but for 2 days, I was surprised, and that's all it was. And for me to see people surprised about all that, like a weekend, I was like, bro, it didn't wear off on you yet. Like this is kind of like it's almost like an internet playbook. This is how you get attention now, you know?
Well, that and like I mean, generally speaking, artists tend to be the least emotionally stable people. Like the best ones are like absolutely just
Oh,
manic with it. They're
yes.
up late nights, sleeping during the day, just getting
On
inspiration
drugs.
from elsewhere. Yeah, drugs or like even sober, just with their mind. I mean, there's no end to like it's kind of weird how like we have this sterilized culture when it comes to drugs where like caffeine is good but cigarettes are the devil and alcohol is okay even though they each
Sure.
cause like a certain amount of disproportionate death
Alcohol's the
compared to like
worst.
compared
Yeah.
to like the crystal meth or heroin or what have you, and then all of the great art that we enjoy, every single thing that has ever lasted more than a handful of generations was in some way shape or form affected by that manic energy, and to try to like sterilize it or to not think about it for the sake of just having this clean image is
Fake.
just yeah, it's just it comes off as disingenuous. You're not really understanding where this energy came from. I mean, the most famous, well, one of the more famous examples that I can think of is the painting by Van Gogh, Starry Night. From my
Mm,
understanding, the drug of choice back then was absinthe, which, when it was made back then, it's a very high proof liquor, which I think they made it with wormroot, which had some psychedelic properties. And a ton of these artists were like just chugging it by the bottle, and you would get these like trippy
filthy.
hallucinations. And this was part of, from what I remember, like the inspiration for it. He was just, I don't know if he was on a bender or what, but this certainly like fueled it to an extent. So like this stuff has always been around, this kind of
Since
crazy
the beginning.
uncontrollable
Yeah.
force that is channeled through these people. um and yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like in the Western world where we become so acclimated to having a more clean, pristine life that it's not really discussed, or maybe it's like shameful, so that when these artists die, their foundations or whatever organizations are left over, they want to scrub that and clean it and don't want anything to
Hmm.
do with that kind of image. But like
Hmm.
it's part of it. It's it's an
They definitely
integral
do
part of
that.
it.
But that is disingenuous, I'm at 100% on your side of it. It's like, the clean and pristine thing is like it's societal cope. I can give you an answer. I think like while you were thinking, I've settled on that. It's just societal cope. There's no real
Hmm.
logical answer to it. It's that society gets more and more pretentious. We think with and for good reason. We have progressed just in my lifetime. I'm 32, and just in my life, I was just recently talking about how like when I was in high school, there were so many, and as a kid, there were so many things that adults did to children in terms of like being physically violent with them. Like parents were way more handsy and spanking you and disciplining you and what people would classify as abuse now back in the 90s. And I can't imagine the 80s and 70s, truthfully,
Mhm.
but my experience in the 90s and early 2000s, as well as like age gaps in terms of like way older men just preying on high school girls. Like it was way more acceptable. 16-year-old girl have a 30-year-old boyfriend and stuff. Well, just weird societally kind of accepted stuff that people just didn't talk about. Maybe if you push the issue really, really, really hard, somebody would, step up and be like, yeah, there's a law on the books about that, but like stuff was flying around crazy. And so because of that, that was, I think, a lot of the pendulum swinging more progressive and liberal. They were like, hey, we have to be like better as humans. Like, you know what I mean? Like parents are hitting the shit out of their kids and they are teaching them terrible things. And like
Mhm.
Gen X wasn't the best parents. That's on the books. Generation X wasn't great parents. Anybody born, my parents were born in the 70s, people born in the 70s and 80s were not great parents. And boomers weren't great parents, weren't great parents either, right? So like it's a trickle down thing, Millennials are trying to rebuke some of it. We're not even parents though. We're just not parents, right? So um there's a lot of weird societal shit that I look to in my lifetime alone where I'm like, hey, at least we got better. And so we have a right to be pretentious in some ways. We're like, hey, at least it's in the 90s where you could say this and do this and get away with this. And the Catholic Church was getting away with this and they were doing that. You know what I mean? Like we wisen up. I think every day we do get better, but it is societal cope. Like we're coping in our own ways to get through this whole experience. You know what I'm saying? And everybody is I seen something one time. It was just like a tiny like kind of art experiment, but that somebody had like categorized the drug concoction that certain musicians were on when they made certain songs.
Mhm.
Most interesting thing in the world to me. If I could get that rap sheet, that download of this is the substances, the toxicology report of musicians and artists when they made certain works and certain songs, man, I would love it. It would be infinitely interesting to me because what you were saying, caffeine, nicotine, sugar, the alkaloids and the things that you ate, right? There's caffeine and things that not just coffee and this and that. There's nicotine in
Tomatoes.
vegetables and all these cannabinoids, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't smoke weed, but you might have all kinds of liminal, all these cannabinoids and terpenes and all these different things. You're being influenced by everything that you consume, period, by the air you're breathing. But like I said, go down the rabbit hole, like how much somebody like Ozzy Osbourne or somebody like Terrence McKenna or somebody, like Van Gogh, people were getting down and dirty back in the day. They might have had ergot in them. They might have had some, you know what I mean? Like, so, yeah,
Mhm.
wormwood and some nutmeg and some this yerba mate and some
Just opiates,
there's so
just
many
straight
things. Yeah,
opiates in a
opiates. Yeah,
glass jar that
kratom.
your doctor gave it to you so that you could sleep better. Like I mean,
Straight up. Cocaine,
yeah,
codeine, you have it all. I want to see that. I mean, because that influenced so much, bro. That's like, and that's a direct representation. I really, if you want to get esoteric here or more spiritual with it, that toxicology report on what people, that's people's spice of like, that's what that's their ultimate cope. What gets me through the day? My cup of coffee, my cigarette, my little joint, my little chocolate, dark chocolate, whatever it is, right? That is a direct representation, I think, of your traumas and the shit that you're trying to deal with, right? So if you're more inclined towards opiates, yeah, you probably have dealt with, right? I'm not a psychologist. I can't say what type of
yeah,
trauma,
yeah,
but a
like ABC,
specific
whatever.
type of
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So, hey, this guy's inclined to do stimulants, then he's probably trying to, get away from this type of trauma. So, I think you could tell everybody, the full story about somebody from what they do on the daily basis, those substances, because those are the substances that will go to the end of the earth to justify rationale, will drive across the fucking city to go, you know what I mean, to get it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We'll earn the money to get those things. Those are the things that drive us, brother. Like that's deep.
No, absolutely. I think like a large part of the conversation when it comes to like drug consumption, it's missing that. Like I mean, schooling that I had, it just seemed like it was an offshoot of Dare. Um, like I'm up here in
Look at
Canada, and I don't know if we must have had Dare. I'm sure we like I had I don't know some kind of
something like
offshoot of
yeah.
it. Yeah, but like it just I remember like in middle school there was like they'd give us like this whole rap sheet of like all these different drugs. Like I don't even know what angel dust is, but I remember learning about it. I think it's PCP, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
And it was just this like this campaign of like, don't do this or you'll die. Don't do this because it'll kill you. And it's not that it's not giving a fair light to this kind of stuff, because obviously the schools, they don't want to advocate for it, but I don't think it's talking about it in a realistic portrayal. Because, like from what you mentioned, when it comes to forming a habit around any substance, really, it's because you're missing something in your life and you want to substitute it. I mean, even on the simplest level, like I I used to work in kitchens for a while when I was a student, and energy drinks, that was like that was the thing.
Oh man,
You just drank
that was
Red
the
Bull all the
thing.
time. When the Red
Yep.
Bull rep girls would come by, there were like just angels coming by to our kitchen, just
That's the
dropping off free
dealer, bro.
samples. Yeah, that was the
They're
dealer,
reing up.
and that's because you couldn't. You work late nights, didn't take care of your body, you weren't eating well because you're working in a shitty kitchen, just pumping out burgers and fries and whatnot. So to cope with the lack of, I don't know, like taking initiative and going to the gym or being healthy or whatever, you like, oh, whatever. I have this little cheat code, cost me two buck
Just press
50.
fast forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just chug that and I'll be good. I'll be fine. Like no problem.
Yeah.
Um, that kind of habit forming. But as you said, like it tells a story of exactly what you're after. I mean, like here in Canada, we've had like legalization of weed just absolutely explode, and having seen it like go from before legalization to like to where it is now, the thing that I've come to is that it's a numbing agent for a lot of people. They
Yeah.
find that life is just too painful or it's too real sometimes, or they just have a shit job and they want to forget for a half hour that they have to go back to the office tomorrow or what have you. um but that certainly like needs to be like studied more and understood better, like all these ways that we tap into these different manic states. We're losing an aspect of our humanity by treating it as some other thing, like, oh, I would never do that, but like I'll gladly have a glass of wine with dinner and what have you, like,
That's the biggest
okay.
lie, yeah. If humanity could get over that, because there's always a justification, and we're all going through some type of. You can pinpoint it at stress or anxiety. Those two words kind of encompass it, but there's this like human existence thing that's going on that we're all trying to numb, and weed is a good number of it, but alcohol is the most normalized one, where it
Hmm.
numbs in the same manner, right? Different mechanisms, but the same manner, and even more so, truthfully, right? Some people hit that emotional wall where they get more emotional, right? But 90% of people I know that are drinking after work, which is 90% of people I know, like of everyone I know, is drinking a beer after work, a drink after work, going to a bar after work. They are defined alcoholics, right? Even if it's not every day, the thing about an alcoholic is you're doing it on a routine more than a
Hmm.
few times a week, right? So even if it's Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever, like 90% of everyone I know is an alcoholic. There's no doubt about it. And it's just because it's been extremely conditioned in society to be like, this is the numbing agent that we all just normalize. And when it gets depressing and it becomes a dive bar and you're the only guy at the bar and you're drinking alone, society shies away from that. Even in shows like Cheers and stuff, it's like, oh, well, now we can all be depressed old guys at the bar, you know? No, 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 you know? We're all the hardworking blue collar guy at the bar. Um, but they really try their hardest in like a propaganda type effort to where it's like, no, it's clubbing, it's glow sticks, and it's fun, and it's, you know what I mean? It's spirits and vodka and liquor. It's not beer, and it's IPAs. It's not this, or maybe it is beer and it's not liquor, and it's a million different justifications and rebrandings, right? All to cope with the fact that it's the numbing agent that we all decided on. It keeps you productive enough to keep our workforce going. And that's what, when you were saying, I just wanted to say that our workforce has been dictated by the substances that you choose to, whatever your sauce is, dictates where you fit into the workforce. Specifically for weed, too, people couldn't pass drug tests for the longest time, so they
Hmm.
couldn't go into certain sectors of the workforce. A lot of them ended up as line cooks, because they did drug tests. Like
Yeah.
certain things that didn't drug test are where you found the stoners at. But also if you did drug test, then you found the cokeheads could get away with it, right? They could
Hmm.
get away with doing cocaine because it was out of your system the next day, or you could even do heroin because a lot of that was out of your system so soon. So you got these people with maybe higher level jobs, right? I had a gym teacher that was a heroin addict, right? It was a big scandal. And they're like, how did she get away with it and all this? I'm like, because you guys are worried about weed. Like, you're doing hair tests for weed for 10 years of weed use when she could do heroin 2 days ago, over the weekend and come to school and be, you wouldn't know it off a piss test. So that dictated the workforce in such a crazy, crazy way to where I've encountered now the drug tests aren't a thing for jobs. They're just like, hey, if you not off at work, we'll figure it out. You know, you got a substance abuse problem. And even then now it got so liberal that they were like, we'll pay for a rehab program for you and you can still
Yeah.
stay on the books, you know? It's just yeah, the war on drugs was won by the drugs. And you know, the law enforcement and the social people that are trying to hold on to it are like the last Japanese soldier on that island that didn't know the war was over. You know,
Well, the funny thing is, like, when we're talking about Ross Albright, I remember I watched this documentary on him a couple times, and there was, I think it was an ex-police officer that was in the doc, and he was basically saying, like, whatever my opinions on drug use or rate of overdoses and whatnot, having an online marketplace so that you don't have to go to a crack house, so that you don't have to go to a corner that's liable to get shot, so that you don't have to wind up at these seedy places to get your fix, that automatically makes it safer for you to consume it. And like
period.
once again, he was
Yep.
like perfectly saying like I'm not advocating for this whatsoever. But if the
Okay.
alternative is like I can either have it mailed to my mailbox and I don't have to go outside of my house for it, or I have to
So
know these
nuance.
seedy
Yeah.
characters and like find different ways to get the funds that are almost always illegitimate or like illegal. Um, like there's not
Yeah.
really, no, no, they're not really equal in terms of their impact on the individual or society. And I'm not
Well,
advocating
that's
for
exactly
use
right.
whatsoever, but like it's
Drug prices
you know
too are dictated by violence. I had to. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting
no
you
no by
because
all means
I'm
by all
just
means.
realizing this now. This is such an important point of it. Drug prices are dictated by violence, right? The price at the end of the day is dictated by the market, but that market is literally underlying who has the guns, who controls this area. It can be way more expensive in this part of town than it is this part of town, and it's because this cartel or this gang controls it, right? And they dictate the price, and they have to strong arm to keep that, right? So you're removing the violence aspect, not only the no contact. He front ran COVID no contact methods by like 10, 15 years, right? They would have
Hmm.
praised him. Oh, no contact. Yeah. But like he also, yeah, he actually, if you would keep an online marketplace like that going, and this is where the nuance has to come in play. You don't allow billboards for it. You don't allow it to be marketed to kids. You don't allow it to be on Roblox and Fortnite. We're humans. We have nuance. We can stop it there, you know, but you allow it to exist in the darker corners of the web, right? Just like porn sites doing things. You would actually undo, I think, the gangs in America
Big time.
slowly but surely.
Big time. Absolutely, because the thing is that part of the reason why people would go to those sites is because like reputation is everything there. The moment that
Yeah.
you don't get your supply or that you get like a couple grams off or what have you, all it takes is somebody just writing a review and being like, "This guy gypped me. This guy overcharged me. This is actually like I almost overdosed. I went to the hospital." And then that's it. Your reputation as a
Yeah.
seller is just evaporated overnight. So it forces people to be like, okay, I have to test this. I have to make sure it's clean. I have to make sure that
So
this
real.
product is the best product. I have to make sure that it's exactly as advertised. That like there's a level of quality that you have to aspire to because now it's not a matter of desperation. People have choices. They're like, well, why would I buy from this guy that has 4 stars when this guy has 5 stars and he hasn't missed a single delivery or like his quality is the best. It
Amazon
just
review system, yeah.
it
The
makes
Amazon review system is flawless.
yeah, it
The
makes
Yelp
it so that
review
like
system, right?
everybody's intertwined and like part of the process so that it's not up to just like some cartel to be like, well, whatever, we'll throw like a couple of grams of fent. Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna complain to the police? Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like,
come
there's
shoot
no,
us.
yeah,
Come go to war.
yeah,
Come on. Yeah,
there's no quality control. But when you actually have people interacting of their own volition and like going back to like our
this
original points
truly
about the internet,
yeah,
it's the same
1333,
thing. Yeah.
like digital integrity. If you don't have digital integrity, you wouldn't be. I've experienced some of it theoretically, or I've been close to people, right, in their experience with the dark web and things. 100%, specifically with like party drugs and stuff. Like it's big in Europe, like the ecstasy pills, right?
Mhm.
I think it's pretty common knowledge, but ecstasy pills, you can't press Molly. Like Molly is a crystal, right? So if you get Molly, it's normally in a capsule. Um, in order to get the ecstasy pills, which were the precursor even to like Molly, the pure form didn't come on the market for. for pop culture at least, right?
Mhm.
To the masses for the longest time. So you had to press it with cocaine or heroin, a harder analog, right? There's this caking agent and there's a harder drug involved, and you never know. This was the thing on the street, and I mean for decades of people doing hundreds of thousands of e-pills. You did not know what was in your e-pill. You got some mix of MDMA with heroin or cocaine or vitamin B or baby laxative or you name it, right? All the stuff they cut coke with and then some
Mhm.
pressed into a pill. What you would get on the dark web on these things was exactly that. People that were worried about their digital integrity, they wanted a 5-star review, they wanted review, people to vouch for them and to have that clout, that reputation. So they would actually get these lab tests done of their e-pills and publish them. And you go, like, here's a Tesla, here's a Warner Brothers, and here's the lab results. So I'm showing you that it's safe. Now this is baseline. This is what all the medical marijuana programs do in every state, right? They give you the full printout. This is everything that's in the drugs,
Mhm.
bro. That was pioneered by the dark web. I'm telling you, where
I
they were
think
like,
so.
here's what you got. It's uncut, uncut. Like, and like you said, they had no incentive to cut it because it was direct to consumer, peer to peer. There's no middleman. There's no cartel involved. There's no hallelujah, free Ross.
Exactly. Yeah, it was trustless protocols where you didn't have to know the person. You didn't have to know anything about them. You just go online, you see the reputation, and if the
Don't need to come
store,
to your house.
yeah, if the store happened to like be faking reviews and whatnot, people would catch on and be like, okay, well, screw this place. We're gonna go elsewhere. We're gonna start our own market. And yeah, I mean, I think the only path forward to like solving any of these big issues, whether it's like our environmental impact or the physical health of people or how we deal with mental addiction or like social media algorithms, like all these different trustless networks and how people engage with selfish incentives in a digital space. That's really the only way to go about it. Like there's no top down government body. There's no corp that's going to come out with some like perfect guide. I mean, even like Sam Altman's idea of like the world coin where you have to scan your eye into it. I don't buy that. I genuinely don't. It's like, why would I go through the trouble of that? Why would I bother
No.
doing that? Or like how I was trying to look into like how to buy Bitcoin, and I was signing up on a crypto exchange here in Canada, and then it asked for like my government ID, and I was like, "Fuck off!" I'm,
KYC.
like I'm
KYC. Yeah.
I am not doing that. Like, screw off. Like,
I
what?
have to pee really bad,
Me too.
and I would love to touch on a few more of these topics with you though, because I'll
Absolutely.
tell you how to buy. This is very important what you just said, the KYC shit. So let's do bathroom
We'll
break.
be back, guys. We'll be back.
KYC, man.
And we're back.
You couldn't buy Bitcoin.
What's that stand for?
Know your client. So it's part of a broader theme that a lot of things were pioneered through crypto or tested out, right, by the powers that be. But this has been a point of contention with the SEC, as well as world governments, state governments, national governments, all this contention around this. Um, it is a huge. We were just talking about Ross, Bitcoin, a huge point of crypto outside of Twitter, outside of the anonymity around that, is the anonymity around financial freedom, right? That's why Ethereum was created. That's why Bitcoin was created. Why a lot of countless hundreds of chains were created. There's actually a case going on right now. It's called Tornado Cash. Was this utility that unfortunately some really bad actors ended up using, like the Taliban in North Korea. So the creator of it is now on trial in the
Isn't it like
same way that
scrambling
Ross
it,
was,
money laundering Bitcoin essentially?
obfuscating it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the laundering, you don't necessarily need to even do this obfuscation. Like I said, NFT, almost every major NFT project was a successful laundering operation, and still ongoing is in some way if it has volume. Um, and they've deemed that that's legal anyway. You know what I mean? And like Trump launching his meme coin and Melania and all that, like there's so many layers of laundering. You know what I mean? And like moving the money around and tax free money that you don't necessarily need to obfuscate so much. But what you would need to do is personal freedom. You know what I mean? I'm just, that's my advocation on that on behalf of personal freedom. You know what I mean? Like North Korea is already using Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Like they use them all. China has control of so much of all this too, and Russia. So their argument falls flat on that. It really does. Um, Tornado Cash just it was collateral damage. It was like this. It was like Ross 2.0. It was Silk Road 2.0. Really, or it is. It's crazy that it's going on. Um, so that's the ethos, though, is of this is decentralized, right? You'll hear that word forever in crypto is decentralized, meaning that no one power holds all the cards. These corpo interests don't hold everything, and the power lies within the people. We all believe that if the power lies within the people, meritocracy takes over. Like you and I were saying earlier, that you don't need, and there is no perfect system. You don't need a government to try to design a perfect system for you.
Hmm.
There is no perfect system. The natural system that God handed down to us is that there's always some collateral damage that but things hash themselves out. Like you said, if someone's scamming or they're being disingenuous, maybe one or two people are the victim, the collateral damage, but then the rest of the town runs over and casts out the bad actor and we all go about our business. And that's just the best way to do it. All of this extra shit, like, and there's so much extra shit is like built around trying to prevent that thing. No victims. There can be no victims ever. No
Yeah. Okay.
collateral damage. That's not even how anything outside works at all. Outside of these square drywall box walls, nothing outside is working like that. Where there's no collateral damage, it's a perfect system. It always works. 1000% efficient. Even in birth, right? How many childbirth and the horses are losing and deer and all this, right? How many animals just die at birth? This entire system has glitches and mistakes and this collateral damage, right? So I digress. That's my rant on that. There's no perfect system. We just let the people take over. So crypto is that. If the financial system was held by literally like one power, you know what I mean, two powers, these banks, and you still can be debanked. We saw that with people like Nick Fuentes. We saw that with a lot of crypto people, and
Saw that with
I
Canada.
myself
Saw that with Canada.
can, yeah, the whole country of Canada, right? The whole
Yeah.
country of England, yeah. It's and it goes into back to your original point, it goes into broader censorship. Now the UK and Germany, we had these EU laws on the books, and you can't say this online. In Canada now, the same way, it's all trickled down from. It started with crypto. They would debank you if you were making a lot of money in crypto, and they would say it's because you're a bad actor, you're a terrorist, you're extremist. You're trying. Why would you want to circumvent all of these systems we put in place if you're not up to no good? If you're righteous?
If you got nothing to hide,
Well, because
what are you so worried about?
well,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, how about I fundamentally know that your systems are evil? They're flawed. I am an accessory to murder, rape, pillage, third world destruction just by using your system. How about that? How about that? I want to divest from this fucking insane world that you created for me. How about that, right? But no, 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 no. That's their fundamental where they're like, we cannot have you relinquish that control um, that we have over you or take that control back that we have over you. And crypto it literally is in the broader sense of crypto, yeah, and Bitcoin and what it is. It's sadly, as it stands now, is almost gone, truthfully. And like the rest of the internet, I think this is kind of the swan song of the internet as we knew it. As we knew it is dead, right? But as we knew it over the last like 5 years, right? Um, it's just going to be more and more of what you I talked about the negatives of it of infantilization and streamlining and mainstreaming like this very safeguarded shit. Um, so KYC is just a terrible, terrible thing. I got grandfathered in when there was no KYC. So basically, if you were able to get things on chain, certain currencies and stuff, like it's already on chain and they'll never know whose it was. And as long as that, you know what I mean? That's the sacred coins that you have where you're like, yo, I got in when it was early. And like, there's no way for them to ever tell it is because it was at point of purchase when I bought it, there was no KYC, you know? And then the thing why people go so hard with trading, it's not often mentioned though, is because of that right there. If you were an early adopter, a lot of the OGs, they want to grow that portion of the portfolio and stretch it as much as they possibly can, right? Because once you're using that money, any money that you trade with off of that money is also technically kind of off the books, if you will, right? Um, and then even there's options if you KYC'd when you bought it to offboard the money, short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains. Long-term is like very, very low at the moment. So you could have held Bitcoin for like 5 years and pay very little taxes on it when you take it out, as opposed to 401k and all that bullshit. It's attractive in a lot of different ways. But what they don't want is to be tracked. The blockchain itself is the public ledger. We want people to be able to track it that we allow to track it. It's like giving you a URL almost when I share a Google Drive link. I don't want everybody that has that link to be able, that link to be able to get leaked out there and stuff. But
Hmm.
it's like, I want you to be able to see that Google Drive shit. So that's how we truthfully feel about the blockchain. It's like we'll let certain people look at our transactions and our addresses that we want to look at, but I don't want the government looking at that. That's the last bastion of like we already know they have access to all of our bank accounts, all of our whatever digital things that we do on our
Everything.
phones and linked up.
Wi-Fi is sonar
Like,
now. Wi-Fi can image a room now, and this is just like I
yeah.
saw it just like literally on the Sam Hyde show. Whatever people think of Sam Hyde, he was actually talking some real shit when he said this. He's like, oh yeah, now it's like
Mm.
it's a security feature where some like ISPs, I don't know if it's in America or what have you, but they advertise it as like, oh yeah, now you know if there's an intruder in your
Xfinity,
house. It's like,
yeah.
oh great, okay, who else has a back door to that? Like who like
Well, this was a schizo meme. I like just to give you
oh
context, bro. This
I
was a
bet.
schizo meme that somebody was on 4chan and he was saying that this technology was out there. He was saying like, I work for the Department of Defense. We're researching technology that will be able to. He's like the CIA is already using it, but they will just map you out through the Wi-Fi signals in your home, so they know where you're sitting, what room you're in, all this. And people are like, that's insane, but he's kind of on to something. Like that could be something. And it was just we needed that last confirmation of like, how does that actually work? And then sure as shit, it's not any internet company, it's the internet company. It's Xfinity, formerly Comcast, right? The
Mhm.
biggest internet company in America. They own like more money than God type shit, right? So for them to introduce it's even funnier. They're like the monopoly. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna map you out through your Wi-Fi. You're like,
For
as
your
a
safety.
security
For your safety. Yeah, okay. Sure.
bro. That guy on 4chan somewhere was like, I fucking told you guys. Like he's probably having the craziest day ever.
Well,
Yeah.
even like the moment that we had that Jeff Bezos nude scandal, the only reason that that even became a scandal is because he got caught up in the Jamal Khashoggi case of that journalist who was
Oh
writing for
yeah,
Saudi Arabia. Because in
yeah.
order to find out the whereabouts of the journalist, they used a program called Pegasus,
Yeah.
which was developed by an Israeli
Israel.
intelligence firm. That essentially like you didn't even need to open or like a link. If you could just send a text to a phone, if they just open the
Through the
text,
text.
that's it. Like
Yeah.
you just now you have root access of a device that is supposed to be unhackable, as Apple says, but that's not even true. And now you don't even need to open a
Important point.
text. From what I've heard, Pegasus 2 is like you don't even need to open a text now.
Yes. An important point. That is what got Hunter Biden. I don't like he just mentioned it in his Channel 5 interview, but I don't think he even fully understands it. Somebody needs to tell him. But he vaguely understands that his iCloud was compromised.
Mm,
He was too strung out and cracked up and retarded during that entire endeavor for him to even like vehemently deny that it was the laptop thing. But I think many people have pointed to the fact that like who takes your laptop to a repair shop
a random
past
like
2010?
in the
You know what
Midwest
I mean?
and then leaves
Yeah.
it.
Repair shops are almost all gone, period, right? There's not a thing anymore. You just go buy a new one, right? But that point is interesting. And then he said, he was like, I don't even know what the laptop thing is. He's like, it is a hoax. He's like, but I know that like my iCloud, like my Apple, my digital footprint, all of it was out there. And I'm like, yeah, bro, your iCloud got hacked. Like he doesn't even kind of know that slang that, oh, his iCloud got hacked. He's saying like somehow they got all my pictures, all my text, all my calls, all my like, your fucking iCloud got hacked, bro. And Andrew was kind of like, yeah, yeah, that happens to people. And it's like, yeah, that's what the entire Hunter Biden laptop scandal was, is someone compromised his iCloud. Whether they did that through Pegasus or not, I can't say for sure, but it sure sounds like it. It sure sounds like it. Because it's so easy to do it. They were just doing it to everybody. You know what I mean? They were compromising everybody. And that's their new form of when Jeffrey Epstein got caught. Hey, we can't compromise people this way. Let's get a little more. We don't have to get so medieval with it anymore. Let's just Pegasus that shit.
Yeah, that's partly why like I love crypto. I understand that there's this huge scammy aspect to it. I understand that there's all these weird subcultures and people doing pump.fun schemes and sniping coins and all that. Let's like okay,
Sure.
well sure, but that happens every single day on on the New York Stock Exchange, except
Yes, it does.
on a much bigger ledger with companies that have billions and billions of assets that are trying to just get like split of a split of a split of a second trade, uh,
That
like
gets me going. You know what's worse
opposing
is
of
they're
anything else.
legally protected when they
Yeah,
scam you. When the New York Stock Exchange scams you, they're legally protected by scamming you, right? That doesn't go on in crypto. There's no government entity that's gonna saying, "Hey, actually, you can't sue this company that had insider information and did all this against you." Yeah, there's no class action happening here, right? Whenever they tanked the entire stock market because of the housing crisis, they literally stopped all of us and said, you can't hurt anybody here. No, 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 no.
Well, even
Nobody's getting
Robinhood,
sued. Nobody's going to jail." Yeah, yeah.
even Robinhood with GameStop, like I'll see an ad about Robinhood every now and then, and people praising it, and I just look at that, and I'm like, do you guys not remember what happened during COVID? Do you guys not remember how they stopped people from buying that stock because there was an investor in their trading firm, like forget who it was, but like a major bank or whom, like whatever it was, that was like, yeah, we need to shut this down because this is going to hurt our bottom line. And Robinhood gladly complied, and then they went in front of the SEC and they had all this hearing, and nothing came of it. I think they just like got slapped with some fines, and now there's like being parroted as, oh, we're for the day traders, we're for the private investors. Like, no, no, you're not.
Oh,
No, you're not.
they're allowing perpetuals and leverage, which is like peak crypto. If you're a crypto OG, you don't even do meme coins anymore. You do leverage, where it's like I put in $100 at 15 times. They take out a position 15 times that 100. I'm only putting my $100 as collateral, but I enjoy the wins of the bigger position, and they
Hmm.
only take up the 5% fee, right? Because they have all the collateral to put up. So you're betting with the house's money. You literally can borrow money for these things, and it's highly volatile, right? Robinhood, it's the most degenerate thing. It's like hyper gambling, truthfully.
Hmm.
It comes off as a much more like, as it's marketed, like a higher intellect, because it does take higher intellect to even understand what I just said there, how leverage and perpetuals work, right? It's not just normal spot trading, which is like I buy Bitcoin here and then in 3 days I sell it here when it's high,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is you fast forward the entire process. I'll buy Bitcoin at 115 234.4, you know what I mean, and then like sell it 2 hours later because I'm at so much leverage that it just accelerates the whole thing. So my point is, Robinhood is allowing that now, and that's the most predatory, like gambling, like big brain casino, you know what I mean, propaganda
Hmm.
shit. Like they're just, yeah. I haven't used them since exactly what you said. AMC, GameStop, that whole run. It was truthfully around Wall Street bets and that
Yep, yep.
roaring kitty and all that, and like even yeah. But you know the lore, and I was there for that, and I got very pissed at Robinhood because I was using them. And I was an early stock day trader. I worked on the stock market. I worked for Innisfree M&A, which is the #2 mergers and acquisitions company. I was going to art school, working on the stock market for them, learning all this crazy shit, being involved like in Heinz Kraft merger, hostile takeovers, and that's what got me interested in crypto. I saw that the stock market was a complete sham, and I'm working with dudes that all have MBAs. They all work for Bank of America, Dollar Bank, and they were all working with me now because they lost their jobs in all these different investment sectors and all this different shit. They were day traders back when you had to pay a fee for an Ethernet cable to go into a ticker to sit on your desk,
Hmm.
right? And it was like, oh, I had the ticker on my desk, the ticker box. Like these dudes they were experienced, and they're teaching me all this shit. At the end of the day, they were just teaching me, bro, it's all fake. It's all speculation. It's all fake and gay. And then they're telling me, yeah, there's this crypto shit, but it's even faker and gayer. And for some, that was a turnoff. For me, I was like, even faker and even gayer, you say? I was like, no way. This is my opportunity to get in on the shit that you guys are teaching me about, because everything come with this like this overhang or this era of like, you missed the mark. We'll teach you about it, but the glory days are over. There's no reason for you to even really pursue any of this because you missed it. It was the late '90s. Everything was going fucking crazy. Japan, blah blah blah, blah. And I'm just like, yeah, this is all cool to learn about, but yeah, it seems like all my opportunities are over. What am I gonna do? And then Bitcoin comes out. And you're like, okay, the millennials have entered the chat.
And it's a great
Shout out
equalizing
to the boomers.
force. Like I love the fact that people get so riled up about it. Like I remember a couple of years back when like initially it was hitting, like even before COVID, it was hitting the mainstream, and all these like top bankers were saying like, oh, it's a scam, like pirates use it, and all these different like gangsters use it, and just trying to essentially talk down on that entire community. And I realized like quickly, I was like, oh, like they're concerned about this. They're worried about this
Yeah, it's a
because
threat. It's
these
a
the
threat.
like these people they make their livelihoods off of like fractions of a second, and they have carte blanche when it comes to any form of like getting caught supplying the cartel with money laundering services or anything like that. I mean, like recently, the two biggest banks in Canada, TD Bank and RBC, got slapped by I think it was the SEC in America because they were found to be supplying different services to like known cartel members. And when I see that,
It's
I'm
every
just
one of
like,
them at this point.
yeah,
Yeah.
like when I see that, I'm just like, okay, so hold on. So I can get debanked if I send even $10 or $20 to a social movement that is inflammatory, for lack of a better word. But these
We
people,
even have that now, yeah.
yeah, like these people are okay with like like allowing these people to just funnel hundreds of millions of dollars through this process. Like, okay, well, that kind of makes me want to turn to something that's gonna, turn the system upside down or burn the whole thing down. Not in a like a not in a way that celebrates anarchy or destroying systems, but in a way that takes the leverage from underneath them and puts it towards something that's, I don't know, a little bit more fun, something that's more community oriented, something that is actually building on something and isn't just like, okay, here, like remember that South Park episode when they're talking about the financial crash and Stan opens up his bank account and he puts in like his first $100 that he got from grandma or something, and the teller, as he's sitting there, he's like, oh, okay, let me just put it into these securities and these stocks, and it's gone. And it's gone. What do you mean? Like, where did it go?
And
It's
it's gone.
gone. And it's gone. And
Gone.
it's gone. I mean, I remember talking to a day trader that like had a big following at one point, and they had like a Discord server, and they did all these courses with people, not like a scummy guy, but just somebody that was making a living doing it. And I sent him a video of this guy that had set up a chicken with a trading account, and he would give it like two choices, put some seed in front of it,
Just
and
a
be like,
chicken.
I wanna trade like long puts on this, or like what have you, like any financial instruments. And the chicken's account was like not always like ascending. Obviously, it would have like downturns and whatnot. But when I sent him that,
Sure.
he's like, yeah, that's it. That's literally
That's
it.
it.
Everybody pretends like they know what they're doing, but they really don't, and they just
No
have
one
enough
does, yeah.
leverage that it keeps them going to the next day, and they get up and they do it all over again.
Some people get lucky in their own superstition, man. Some people's superstitions are better than others. That's all you know what I mean? They make their own systems up. I go as far as like I get so frustrated about the systems at play, like you're saying, where you can get in America we have it on the books now too. That specifically Trump is hyper focused on anti-Semitism. So, for example, if I were to heavily donate to not Hamas directly, but a Palestinian organization, right? You run the risk for sure of being debanked now and deplatformed and muted in all the algorithms and not hired at jobs and this wasn't a reality where people would say you're a schizo for sure if you're saying all that's going to happen to you, but it's already happened to people. We have examples to point to, precedent setting cases, and we have Palantir, which everybody's sounding the alarm on because they do connect all the dots. They put all the systems together where America has been the land of the free in the aspect of we have all these regulations on the books where most of them can't be enforced, the ones that really piss us off and would really make Americans radical and do something about something, they don't get enforced on a level that really interferes with people's lives and their addictions and their pleasures. If you connect all the dots and all the systems, it becomes very easy to start enforcing a whole lot of that stuff on an ideological sense, like I said, on a substance sense, on a you get a lot of information and you start figuring out what really makes people tick. And that is scary for everyone alive, period. Like I said,
Yeah.
period. Because not only can they exploit the fact that you love to drink coffee and smoke cigarettes if they want to get to you, right? But they're going to build a digital identity that fully encompasses your ideology, the bad things that you've said or thought or did, how you transact, how you what you support, and if it's the wrong thing, which now the Palestinian cause has been deemed the wrong thing, and it can be a very low level, then yeah, you're out, bud. Good luck. You don't have a bank, which means you can't get your paycheck, which means eventually, like I said, they connect all the systems. They'll have blacklists where I know there already exists ones where certain major companies just won't hire people because they've been blacklisted. They've been able to connect your online persona to your actual doc's name, and they say, "No, this guy's a vehement, alt right, anti-Semite, racist, whatever. We ain't hiring this guy." And it doesn't even have to be like you go famous and you have your viral moment. This is just an underlying list that they're compiling and they're building over time. Yesterday, I saw the faggot repository. This is a repository compiled by like Cambridge or like some
Mhm.
major college, like doing this research, LLM research, and they compiled every instance of the word faggot used online from 2008 to 2018 or something like that. And and that word can be used in many contexts, right? We'll give that disclaimer. It's in the Oxford Dictionary, so they're trying to discern what context it's used in. I think they'll find that it's a comedic context 90% of the time and not such a hateful one, right? But we all know that. But it is such an interesting thing now. You can do this with LLMs where they're trying to get every use of a single word on the internet. And like, I'm laughing because it's funny, but like they can tie that to people. They can say, hey, actually, at some point, you did say this word online, bro. Like, we have it in this. We can compile all these repositories and cross check it with all this shit, have the AI run it, and you said this, this, and this. Good luck getting a job, let alone
Absolutely.
buying Bitcoin, you know? But to answer your thing, and I want to say this openly for anybody listening or that will listen, that almost everything's going to KYC you right now. Trump actually in the U.S. Allowed us a little bit of leeway as far as some of the reporting goes on some of these things, and as far as KYC, he's not forcing it. But so many companies fell in line because the SEC, on Gary Gensler's way out, he knew to put so much pressure on these companies that he could force them to put things into place that even while he was out, they would still last, right? And would still give people these barriers of entry and give them a real hard time. So most places are just KYCing to protect themselves in case regulations go through, in case the next administration is just going to revert and go back to Gary Gensler's ideology. Trump is like an oasis, like at the eye of the storm. He's kind of like, no, no, we're going to pause everything on crypto. Um, the best way to do it though is find somebody that already has some crypto, some Bitcoin, some Solana, and do an over-the-counter deal, OTC. This goes back to peer to peer. I have some Bitcoin, so I'll happily give you some, right? You can send me money however the traditional ways are. And generally, you keep it under a certain amount so that, the tax gifts are under a
Mhm.
certain amount and all that, right? And we can do as many as you want, and we do it that way. And I just send you the Bitcoin directly so you don't have to KYC. Um, and there's some other workarounds. Like there's definitely decentralized. They call them DEXs and SEXs, CEX and DEX, centralized exchange, decentralized exchange. Coinbase is like the big centralized exchange. They're always going to KYC you. They're always, at this point, they don't do direct tax reporting, but that's in the next 2 years. That's one of the things that's coming. Um, you want to use the decentralized exchange because they don't report to anybody about anything ever. It's your keys, your wallet. You have full control over it. That's the thing about Coinbase. People say, not your keys, not your wallet. They can basically take your money from you at any time. And everyone that has ever used them has had their funds frozen. Mine just got unfrozen last week. It happens to everybody. They like are scrutiny and it's not cool. Um, so there is ways to outside of even over the counter to still use say a debit card or you're going to obfuscate a little bit, use like Cash App, PayPal, or some of these methods. Cash App actually is not good for crypto. I'm sorry, fuck them. But there's other methods where you can onboard without KYC to a decentralized exchange, which is basically they're letting you be free. And so, yeah, I can give you guys there's some of them linked on our website and stuff, and I can give you a list directly. That's always a good thing to just circulate again and bring up to people because freedom, baby.
Yeah, and it's not even about like look at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter if you are a vitriolic person or hateful or like use these words in a joking manner. It doesn't matter. I've seen plenty of clips of people, especially in the UK, just going to a bank and they're like, I want to withdraw $5,000 for my own personal means, and they're caught
Like
in
what
this.
for?
Well, yeah, like, and then they're caught with this conversation with the teller, and the teller is asking them like for justification, like, "What are you gonna do?" And the person's like, "Oh, I want to buy a motorbike." Oh, well, show me the ad. It's like, well, why am I going through all these steps of
I'd
justifying
lose it
my purchase to you? It's like, first of all,
just thinking about it.
it's my goddamn money. Like
Yes.
it's not your property. It's the finite time that I have on this planet that I spent doing a thing, and then I got compensated for it, and now I can do whatever the hell I want with it. And
It's your last freedom, brother.
yeah,
To eat what you want,
it
to
can
watch
happen to
what you
anyone.
want. It's all money. Yeah.
Yeah, it can happen to
If they
anyone.
take
You don't
that,
have to be a specific person. You don't have to be part of some kind of a political tribe. It could literally happen
no.
to anyone.
And that's financial freedom is your last freedom, but it dictates just like when we were kids, we hated the fact that our parents got to tell us every night what we ate. I know we all hate it. As much as you love your parents, that's the one thing. That's why we become angsty teens because we're controlled and we're like, the world's so controlling. Fuck it. I gotta talk this way, I gotta dress this way, I gotta eat these things, I gotta watch this. You know? The moment I became an adult, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me, you know? If you asked, child me or a teen me, I wanted to be an adult more than anything because I was like, wow, freedom. I'm not being, and I had a military father and I had a Southern mother, so maybe it was harder on me, but I'm grateful for it. But it was just free moment. Like I can watch whatever I want, and I can pay to go watch this movie, and I can pay to get this cable subscription, and I can pay to get this internet, and I can pay whatever because I have the money to do. It's my money. Nobody can take my money from me. Like you said, I traded my time for it. It goes into my bank account, and legally I can protect my bank account. Like at least I have that, in certain countries, like you can't steal my money, you know, and that, yeah, I don't have to eat steak and potatoes tonight. I want tacos. Maybe I want tacos every night. Maybe I want ice cream. It's literally freedom. Like, and the moment you take that away in any manner, you're oppressed. Period. So, f that. That's what we say at 1333 and in crypto across the board, man. I see a lot of parallels to Mackenzie is hilarious because she's always a normie in the sense that she's so tech inclined and you guys are all so like culturally inclined and aware. But since you are normies, you're not like crypto people like us. We're the radicals, you know. We can still call you normies, but she's just like, I don't know about this cryptos. And she's not even like apprehensive, truthfully. She's just like, I'm like overwhelmed by it. And it's overwhelming for everybody. That's a
Mm.
huge uphill battle. Um she's so funny with like the culture that still leaks over to Maya World and Lil Juliet and Outsider Supply and the conversations and the group chats that I've been in with them and it's hilarious to me because I'm like, you guys are getting like the right sauce. You don't even have to know any of the financial stuff truthfully. Like it's cooler to know what's going on culturally here, to be honest. That's what I'm talking about mostly. The financial stuff is like it was cool for the last 5 years. Like it had its peak and it's really we are at the point where all the banks are offering crypto now. Cash App's one of the last ones that doesn't do it for some reason. But like you said, Robinhood, PayPal, Venmo. I bought Bitcoin on Venmo not long ago. They did KYC the shit out of me. Um, but that's their shtick. Like they're gonna offer it, but they're gonna do it by the corporate way. They want to know your name, your fucking social security number. They're gonna report it to taxes. They want to get you. The entire method here is they understand that billions of dollars were lost in tax revenue from this market over the last 4 to 5 years during its entire bull run
Mm.
and they're going to get a huge piece of that. So, however, they can rake back those billions of dollars, they're hitting everybody where they can. And it's just the glory days are over. It was the Wild West, it was the good type of anarchy where I advocate for the undoing of systems and the rebuilding of systems. And that does take anarchy, right? So you can rebuild not just unfettered,
Mhm.
all the time, but um, and I just think that era of anarchy culturally and financially is over. You saw it with once Trump was elected, it felt like the energy was like, oh, it was the post nut clarity type thing. Right after sex, you're kind of like, it's like we did it, but hmm. And
Yeah,
that
but
was led by the internet. Like, but it was just we just didn't feel good about it.
yeah, no, I think that like as we're talking about pendulum swinging. All that stuff is on its way back. I don't think it's going away because like the more that people get oppressed into any of these systems, I mean, even if it's something like art school, um, there's only so much pressure that you can apply to people to think a certain way or to act a certain way or behave a certain way until they're like, okay, well, how's about you screw off and I'm just gonna do me, and we're gonna figure it out. I mean, it has literally never been a better time to be an artist in all of the history of humanity.
I'm with you.
There's
Yeah,
an endless,
because it's a cycle. It
yeah.
comes back around. If they're gonna push us into the corner, this is why Bitcoin was created, right?
Hmm.
So it will have the same exact moment where these social arenas and these financial the cultural arenas will be created again. And now we have more of a playbook of what works. We've hashed out all these shit through live experimentation. We can the runway is there. So I'm fully white pilled. Shout out white pill, free white pill, clear pilled, um, just angel pilled on that. Like that's what we're always. People have told me in Twitter Spaces, amongst like the tech bros, amongst the crypto bros, like, dude, you're the most optimistic person in this space because I'm aware of all the misery and I've been to all the black pilled spaces and everything, but I still am transmuting that energy every time. To back what you said, if it gets this bad, we always correct it. We the people.
Always. It's only a matter of time. Like realistically, it's like any force of nature. It's gonna slap back on you. Like no matter what. Like you can only deny uh, the reality for so long until it just crumbles from underneath you. And I think that's part of why it's so exciting to live in this time because like the amount of people that are like black pilled these days, it's like, look, at the end of the day, like our ancestors had it worse, and they had much less to go on
Oh,
with, and they had
so much
they had they
worse.
had they had much less resources at their disposal. So there's really no excuse to
This is deep.
uh find yourself like just like in this deep psychological hellhole of, oh my god, it doesn't matter, like, oh my god, this sucks, oh my god. Okay, yeah, sure, like have your little moment, but at the end of the day, there's never been more opportunity in humanity's history to just become your own self-actualized person. Like you don't need a major institution now. You don't need a degree and diploma and schooling to gatekeep you from doing what you want to do. Like, okay, like you want to be part of the system and go work for the SEC or what have you. Like, okay, that path is always going to be open. But if you just want to be a day trader, or if you want to be a digital creator, or if you want to be a community builder, or anything, there is an unlimited amount of pathways to get there. Um, and also, I don't know if
I
you
mean,
are aware, but I
we could go another 3 hours on AI because that just
yeah.
the barriers of entry are so low now where it was so you had to learn Blender over the course of 6 months to like begin an Instagram career, um and now it takes 3 minutes to create 3D stuff, video stuffs, and we're huge advocates of that. That's one aspect I've left out where um all of the art you've seen me create is AI assisted and or just fully AI. I take a lot of pride in being, I consider myself, some have said it, one of the greatest AI artists. And that's the funniest, dumbest thing to say. But uniquely, I've used it in a way that you cannot tell that it's AI in so many instances, and really prided myself on recreating the Y2K PS2 vibes. You can find it all over Pinterest, all over Instagram, but it got to a point where it was just recycled screenshots, the same PlayStation games,
Mhm.
same screenshots themselves, recycled on every Pinterest and Instagram ever. And I set out to make a new expression of that. So no one can deny that these are brand new images that no one has ever seen before because they are wholly and fully created by AI. They'd like to argue they're inspired by all these things and they think they know the generation engine behind it. It stole from all these artists and things, and they're entirely false. I did steal, if you will, many different things, but there's so much influence into it. I can make a very ideological argument that like it's just as much influence as any other thing that you sketch with your hand or
Mhm.
take a picture of with your phone, you know. How dare you take a picture of that painting? But yeah, it's insane. It's amazing. I love using AI. Midjourney specifically has been my weapon of choice. I found a way to use their blend mode to just take things and get that real crazy texture that you couldn't tell it was AI. It just looked like a video game screenshot. And I went that route. I was like, I'm not going to go hyper surreal, hyper realistic, try to trick people, try to meme people, make things that you've never seen because it's so funny and outrageous. I just wanted to make a very nostalgic, very cool aesthetic. And the angels and everything. That's why I say there's derivatives of my work now, and there's entire collections and entire like little communities and Discord servers that were directly inspired by what I did because through the generation, just the very nature of AI and me combining all those things, it created its entirely unique aesthetic and had its own look with all these different sparkles and heavy purples and blues. And like, you can't pinpoint what game is from because it's not a game. That was the meme at the beginning. Everybody would see the pictures and go, "What game is this from?" Because you immediately want to get a ROM up and like port it up, try to play it.
Mhm.
And you're like, "This looks fucking sick." It's like but that's another there is some surrealism to it because a lot of those games at the time couldn't achieve kind of the look that I do achieve with it, with like all these extra weapons and extra armor, and like they were limited by their means at the time. So, you know, a lot of what you'll see is maybe the girl has angel wings and like a little piece of armor and a sword, but like I have all that going on, plus the crazy background, plus a demon coming in, and they're just like, "What game is this? What game did all that?" And I'm like, "Nothing yet." Right? That's where it inspired us, not like the inevitability here where we've all kind of, as digital artists, musicians, crypto guys, all this stuff, and gals, we have a very co-ed existence, co-ed community, but it all comes together and like, yeah, now we're going to use all this inspiration as concept art, as concept videos, all this. We're going to make a game. We're going to replicate what we're able to create with this AI abstraction. So that's my rant on that. I know we could probably go 3 hours, but like, and we'll probably need another one of these, truthfully, on just AI.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the great democratizer of everything.
the
I mean,
equalizer.
like
Yes.
I love that. I don't love that people are going to a lot of people are gonna like lose their jobs. Like I'm not in terms of like feeling that pain. Obviously, like nobody's sadistic enough, or I guess
No.
there's got to be someone out there that is. But that's not what I'd like love to focus on when it comes to it. But like I'm not ignorant to it either. I understand that that's gonna happen, but at the same time, it's gonna free people up from just like making commercials for Doritos or doing some
Mm.
uh like 3D work for T-Mobile or what have you. Just all this like very commercialized stuff that has no heart or soul to it, and now they're going to be able to go out there and make something of their own, and it's a tool like any other. I mean, if you go back far enough, I'm sure there are people that are complaining about the printing press,
Yeah,
or
the
even like
Luddites. Yeah.
digital photography. There's always those people, and I get it. There's something that's lost when you make a tool that's a lot more accessible and easier to use. I mean, smartphone didn't kill photography, but it certainly made it so much more accessible, especially with Instagram filters, that it's just like you can tell when a photo was done and it's just filtered all to hell. I mean, if you look at like early 2000 or early 2010s Instagram reels, like almost everybody was using the same like 3 4 filters, but that also makes it so that the people that actually like do rise to the top are the ones that are able to use that tech to the best of their ability to make something that's actually meaningful, to make something that resonates with people. I mean, auto tune didn't kill
That's
music,
right.
you know.
No, I use autotune and everything too. I'm such a non-Luddite, but I understand the purist argument behind everything. I've gone to extreme lengths to be a purist and impress the purist because I want the respect from my peers. I really don't care about fame. I really care about respect from my peers. Like if I had like Alex Toomey is an insane music engineer. He's done stuff for Travis Scott, Young Thug, like some of the real contemporary stuff, and is on the cutting edge. Right? If he gave me props, I would be on top of the world. I could die happy in my artistry. Right? Would mean more to me than a million plays, truthfully, because I know he recognizes game, like can really talk shop about mixing, mastering, production, that type of thing. So I'm with the purists. Like I have a Canon T5i. I went to art school. I have a digital film production degree. I use Final Cut. I used Adobe Premiere very early for many years. I have old VHS cameras, DVR cameras. I love this stuff. I'm a collector, even, right? But also if there's something that comes out like a GoPro or an iPhone, it only I'll hold out like the slightest bit. I'll hold out like a year and then I'll be like, all right, they got me. You know, I held out on drones, GoPros, and iPhones the same for like a year, and I was like, okay, they got me. Like this is, I understand when a force is way greater than myself. Like, and when Instagram came out, when I was in art school in college, everyone said this is bullshit photography. This is fake. All these fake filters to make it look vintage. Yeah, Instagram's $1 billion company now, but yeah, so probably multi-billion. So Luddites just get left in the dust, man. Photoshop. They said Photoshop was the death of fucking photography, the death of painting. Bob Ross was rolling in his grave, and no, it's evolution. It only makes those things get held with more respect and reverence. If you can actually paint now, you're a total
Mm-hmm.
badass in this
Mm-hmm.
world. If you have an eye for real photography with lenses, you're doing things that people can't replicate it on an iPhone. So, Tarantino's using film to a high degree, and people are saying, "How'd you do this?" Oh, film. Yeah, we forgot about it. So it's all there. You know what I mean? Like I don't the Luddite argument. I understand it's duality. two sides of the same coin. Some people think that this does away meritocracy, like you said. Oh, you don't have to go to school anymore and learn for years and do all this shit. As someone who did it, as someone who knows Blender, FL Studio, Final Cut Pro, you name any high level computer program, Cinema 4D, Maya, uh, 3ds Max. I just want to cover my bases here. I am a master of all those programs. It has been a pain to spend years of my life on a screen missing out on having a family, having children, having, you know what I mean, experiences with my family, because I was so locked in on the dream, and I had these insurmountable like tutorials. Essentially, sit here and watch this tutorial for 4 hours and learn how to use this computer program so that you can have respect in your field of study. Right? That is that robs people of their humanity. Point blank period. As much as I love the internet and programs and all that, you are robbed of your humanity sitting in front of a console, using the. Now I have to learn a new language. I already know C++. I already know Python. I already know how to use Photoshop. Now a new program comes out. Now and I already know how to video edit in general. But no, you don't know how to use this video editing program. You're gonna have to take 2 months to learn this program. Well, this isn't how things work, right? You train once for your career in college, or you know what I'm saying, and then you get to do it for the rest of your life, right?
Mhm.
And that software shit is such a that planned obsolescence, and that you know what I mean. It's one of the hardest things for the modern human to keep up with, and new apps and all this. You know, I don't blame anybody that says they're overwhelmed by accelerationism, man, because to me, that's where the meritocracy is back to everything. Accelerationism is actually coming to the entropy point where it just comes to a head, heat death. It's all over. You don't need to worry about what the new app is. It's not the next TikTok. It's not the next Instagram. Instagram just is what it is. It was a moment in time where it rolled everything. It still has a major influence. Twitter had its peak and it still has a major influence. TikTok is enjoying its major, its peak at the moment. I don't think anything comes next, and we don't brand anything next, right? We're just consolidating into this inevitable end of it. Everybody got way too chaotic with all of it, trying to learn all the new programs and do all the new trendy things. We're gonna go back to what we know. It's just art. It's just music. It's just people. And that's by way of AI, which everybody says is the robots that are gonna kill us all. No, it's gonna make us humans again in the biggest way. Amen.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like once again, like the pendulum's gonna swing. People are gonna realize that uh, if it becomes so accessible and just about anyone can do it, that automatically makes any like human skill or handmade skill that much more valuable. Like there's only so much editing that you can do with even per se like animation when it comes to generating it through AI. If you compare it to like cell animation, somebody that's drawing every single frame by hand, there's like there's no comparison. Like even if like tech gets like absurdly good and models become so lightweight they can run on your phone, um, there's nothing that's going to be able to replace something like the original Akira or Evangelion
Period.
or what have you.
Period. And we'll never allow it. Society will culturally will never allow it. It'll be so many generations down the line if that ever. And I don't foresee that. Just we didn't we didn't nuke the pyramids of Giza because we're like, oh, these are old and gay, and we'd make shit better now. We didn't nuke. There's so you know what I mean. Like just there's the same reason we keep architecture around and like history around and the Bible itself around and all these ancient texts. You know, we understand we've evolved past a lot of those understandings. In some ways, we haven't at all, but there's some progression there, and we don't just do away with them, right? So I think that, yeah, those things will just gain more reverence. Movies that made in the 90s are just better than ever. Like they're really fucking good. Movies made in the 80s are amazing, and they're not getting worse. They're only getting better with time, you know? So yeah, you'll never remake Akira, and it takes. This is you touched on something. This is the argument. A lot of people that are highly technically skilled in their field and are like commission artists and have worked for a lot of these corpo agencies and shit, they don't have the best ideas. They're not the most creative individuals. They've sat at the console, read the book, did the tutorial, followed within the bounds of the program, and used the program the way it was designed in the way it was designed, right? That's actually very vanilla and very anti art to many people. We say, no, how do you break Photoshop? The coolest thing to me is when somebody finds something new within a program that's been out for 10 years. Oh, I found out you can do this with Photoshop. And you're like, holy shit, this guy's trying new shit. Avant shit. Let's get, I love that. the person that's just highly technical and it's like, yeah, I work for a commercial ad agency and I know how to do it. I'll give you your props. You spent the time to do it. I and I fully believe this in my heart. Anyone could do what they do. If you dedicate enough time to it and you're above a certain IQ threshold, you can do it. You just sit in front of the computer and follow the tutorial. It's very cookie cutter. It's very similar to people saying, "Oh, you traced that." Right? You're a tracing artist. You can't do it. You can't actually draw from memory. You can't draw from reference. You have to trace. It's the same thing, right? These are all the art arguments as they go down, and AI really blows up all of them, truthfully. You're still going to have all of your highly technical skills and all this stuff. But if I don't want to have to learn how to 3D model, but I want to make an expression within a 3D space, I don't need to waste my life away trying to compete, because then you get bullied by the 3D modelers that have been there before you as well, right? Not everybody's so happy to help you. Hey, a new guy. No, it's like, actually, you got to learn the right way. You got to do it the hard way. No more of that. Fuck the gatekeeping. Barriers of entry are lower than ever. If you want to, if you, it's now about the ideas. The guy that works for the commercial ad agency isn't coming up with some insanely cultural egregore like Mickey Mouse or like Milady or like, uh, name a great, any comic book here like Spider-Man or something. They didn't invent anything like that. This immense cultural reverence. They didn't come up with skibbity or some slang term. They literally just, they work for, maybe they work for Marvel and they just make Spider-Man shit and they just learned how to do what they're supposed to replicate. You know what I mean? So all of those arguments fall flat. It's, do what you do, specialize in what you specialize in. And if you have, I think more than ever, if you have an idea, I have a lot of visual ideas, dreams, and hypnagogic things, and just visual things that I never was able to get out. And I said, what if I could make this a music video? Damn, it would be a good music video. What if I could make this a 3D space, a video game? Man, that would be good. It would be better than this game I'm playing, even, I think. But I don't have the skills to actually make it. That would take 10 years. Well, guess what? In 2025, you're getting very close where you could just make the game. And it's a meritocracy of ideas. Who has the best representation? It's not, yeah, I have a better idea than you, but I don't know how to use Unreal Engine. So,
Yeah, and we see it in the movie landscape. Like, why is it that all these franchises are getting reboots? Why is everybody doing a sequel? Why is I Know What You Did Last Summer getting their like 10th, 20th, whatever movie? And it's because, well, they understand that there's a formula, right? Investors are willing to put in
yeah.
a certain amount uh, into the idea because they know that they're going to get their money's worth back on something. But people are getting sick and tired of it. They're just they're wiped out by it. They're like, why would I go and see the latest Marvel movie? This is like it's the same thing. Every single now like every single like joke is what's the right word for it? Um Not typecast, but they do like the group screenings where like they filter everything through the audience. Like
Yeah.
this
A/B testing.
yeah, yeah. This is how the men reacted above this age. This is how the women reacted below this age. This is how kids reacted. This is how teens reacted, and it's just also formulaic that at one point or another, people are just going to be like, okay, well, this is ridiculous. What are we doing here? We're just rehashing the same thing over and over and over again, doing the same themes. Like that. I
But we need
think
original thoughts. When
yeah.
is the next Mickey Mouse get made? You know, and that's what I'm saying. You don't. It doesn't need to be strictly derivative and rehashes and shit. Like Disney is what Disney is. It'll never be another Disney. It is a moment in time that it will hold respect and reverence and continue on in some form. So people forget. Like it doesn't need to die and be. You know, we need to put this to rest. No, it can gracefully be what it is. But like, when does the next Mickey Mouse come along though, or the next Pikachu, right? Like, I'm way more concerned with that. Like that's what keeps me going and motivated. Like, who makes the next Pikachu, not who makes the next great Pikachu fan art. Oh, this guy's really good. He's on TikTok drawing Pokemon live with a twist. It's Pokemon mixed with an anime, a different anime. You know, it's like
Hmm.
real creativity is making those worlds, being George Lucas type shit, right?
Yeah, it's going to be the era of the idea guy. It's going to be whoever is
Yeah.
the most capable of learning different tastes and influences from whether it's different cultures or mediums and taking inspiration from that and making something new. That's like
Yes.
it's we're entering the indie era of every single medium known to man.
Every medium.
Every single
Yes.
one. Whether like I mean, some of the best games I've beaten this like horse to death at this point on this podcast. 'Cause I've talked to other artists about it, and they share the same sentiment. They're like, "Look, these major AAA like game studios were on like the 20th Call of Duty or whatever. Like, okay, they'll make their couple mil, whatever, what have you. But then there's a small team of crack developers out of like Japan or Korea or Southeast Asia or wherever that make this
Mhm.
like low poly, like very basic game, and they'll also make millions. And they have a small
Yes.
team, so they're not like worried about publisher rights or any kind of drama or investors or anything like that. They're not as shackled by all these things that exist within this current infrastructure. They're allowed to have a lot more levity. They have a lot more room and things to work with as a result of that. Like it's just it's once again the pendulum is swinging. People are like, okay, well we've had enough of this. We want to invest into something that's actually has a real vision, something that is an independent creator's uh baby essentially. Like they're birthing this thing into the world and letting everyone play with it. Like this is the way. This is the way to go. Like you I don't even need like a Patreon now. I can just like you said, I can get a website, host it, find somebody that or like find some kind of
Big on that. Yeah.
a payment processor that isn't reliant on canceling people that aren't politically leaning towards like whatever angle they want to lean. I can just figure it out on my own. I don't need to rely on all these old and
We are a
tired
testament to
systems.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were uh I'll say like on the books, like theoretically, like there was hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue for 13 at 33 last year with uh I mean operating costs are like as close to zero as any business can claim, because it's very much like this ephemeral digital thing, it doesn't there's yeah, it's very much not brick and mortar. And yeah, I mean operating costs other than the time put in, that's certainly an operating cost, but actually like upfront money that we had to put in, we're making money off our art in a way that many artists online are not able to. And there's certainly people shitting on us in that aspect on Instagram and different things and Zora and these different platforms. But um, we essentially like we have control of all the means, like in the most like freedom kind of way. Like where I mint at is people that I have a good relationship with because they're decentralized and they're not corpo. Like every step of every, you know what I mean? Like the supply chain that we
Hmm.
that we operate under. Our merchandise is the same way. It is drop shipping, but it's a very specific made in America drop shipping. And then payment processing is a crypto um, HelioPay. I really like them. So you can use any cryptocurrency with them. They handle all the conversion on the back end. You can use a debit card. They will onboard you to crypto. They have non KYC and KYC methods. Like you can pay any way, and it is all like the most free kind of decentralized way to do things. Um, and so yeah, we have full control. I can't get debanked or deplatformed by anybody. And I'm like, out of principle is the only reason I even like go in those areas or like, you know what I mean, like defend those principles. But as we operate on this and how we present, like we don't even transact in those edgy ways, But I'm not gonna let them. Yeah, I'll still stand for those principles. As we're pretty politically correct, I want to say is what I like. We're pretty good for the normies. We cross over well to Instagram and TikTok. We're not. There's no underlying ideologies or radicalisms here. Um, but we still fight for those ideals because we're just like, yeah, that's like what we like, that's what we stand for. um it's a crazy intersection of all these things, art and technology, and
Yeah, it's the
spins you
greatest
out sometimes.
single greatest time to be a creator. Absolutely.
Truthfully is, man.
To build something of your own, to like whether like regardless of the medium, music, writing, what have you. There's not really been a better time in human history to be doing something like this. And not only has it not been easier, it has never been a more important time to be doing this, because like at one point or another
Noise then. Yeah.
the bottom's going to fall out, and the automation is going to take over a lot of people's jobs, and tons of people are just going to be left with like several decades worth of schooling and career experience in one single field. And then next thing you know, you're like, well, I guess I got to sign up for this UBI, for the universal basic income, because I didn't take the time to learn any other kind of skill so that I could make something of my own. And that
That's why I have no
is
sympathy.
Like
If you're
that's
hyper
yeah.
specialized though, and like you can't, because you have to look at me like I've been successful in construction. That's more of a local blue collar thing that I'm indoctrinated in, but very successful in construction. I've built houses from the ground up every step of the way. I can do all aspects of construction. I'm working with microcontrollers now, doing soldering. That's something I haven't done since I was a kid. I was into like Radio Shack transistors and shit. Literal 20-year dormancy, and I spark it back up in the biggest way, and then put myself out there and challenge myself to it. Um, NFTs had no clue in 2023 about like other than Bored Apes. Like I had knew nothing. I got in 2023, late 2023. Take this shit over, low key. Um, I mean, the video field was what I was hyper specialized in, right? And I'm not trying to be. I'm a jack of all trades, but like I've seen people way more specialized and like have more skills than I am, and put me to shame. That's what motivates me. So people that have less and they're like so hyper focused on one thing, everyone has respect for the guy that's like the best tailor, the best cobbler, the best concrete guy, the best mason, the best whatever, you know? We are not in that world anymore. Like we're so far removed from that world that I have very little sympathy. That like I understand career and all that. We all deserve to have a career. And it shouldn't be that hard. You shouldn't have to like go above and beyond every single day in your career. But if it's all, it really comes down to me for a personal matter of they're not willing to step out of their comfort zone and learn new things and be embarrassed and be the acolyte, be the newbie. You got to get through that. I'm doing that every fucking day, man. I'm back to tutorials. I'm back to soldering and burning myself, ruining Raspberry Pis. Like, this is what you do 3D printing and failing at it 100 times, three spools down. Like, this is what I live for now. I used to be so scared of it because I was like, people online will say I'm a poser. I'm fake. I'm not good. Wah wah. Get in line, bud. You know what I mean? Like if you're
Yeah.
imagine you're highly specialized in music and you're AI's coming for my I just used AI to pump out some of the coolest music I've ever made in my life. And nobody can deny the 10 years before this of success and skills that I've amassed. But if you can't use it as a pack a punch, as like an upgrade and acceleration, like you're the problem. No doubt.
Absolutely. We are approaching hour three. Is there anything that
We
you
got
wanted
the
to
three.
discuss
That's awesome.
before we tie it off
Good
here?
Lord. We need to go get a drink of water and eat and nurture ourselves. So let's get out of here. But this is amazing. I love yapping. You are very like-minded to I, so that's very easy. Um, Me and Mackenzie go on our talks as well. When we get in a video call, it's like 4 hours gone, and we're like, okay, we have to put a stop to it. So Outsider Supply is amazing. They I think they mirror a lot of the ideals outside of the cancelable things I might have said on the stream. Everything that's politically correct and wholesome and righteous, truthfully, they align with. Um, I can say that from many talks with Mackenzie, you know what I mean, and being around their social movements online and how they like to move online. It's very righteous and very just pure hearted people. Um, the art itself is incredible. The quality itself is incredible. So for me, even if there isn't like these direct parallels to 1333, there's enough adjacency. And then you start digging a little deeper and you're like, no, there's actually a lot of ideological parallels. Like we get it. We get the art world. We get the freedom. So I hope to continue to meet with you guys, provide content, collaborate. And thank you for having me, man.
Right on. Yeah,
Amen.
no, it was a good time, man. It was a good time. It was really illuminating to hear all this stuff about NFTs and well, just about everything else that we talked about. And no, it's great to see that you're not the first creator that I've talked to that is of this mind that like once again, there's never been a better time to pick something up and make something
Amazing.
of yourself
It's
and be
amazing.
independent from all these systems. So it's great to see the work that you're putting out and what you guys are doing with your org. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what you guys come up with in the future. Because from here on out, it's I mean it's just the full pedal to the
Oh,
metal. Like there's
yeah.
nowhere but up at this point.
Like you mentioned the game studio thing. That is next chapter for 1333. So you guys can I have my own channels, but in a collective sense, this is a collective. There are many members of it. It is wide open. We have a Discord, we have a um, website, and we're getting people involved. And eventually, we are going to make a game, and that's going to have so many open positions for so many people to be involved. So we're going to do the indie game dev thing, and we'll see you there.
Right on. Looking forward to it. So yeah, in terms of socials, people can find you at Coyote. Do you have any other pages that you use, or just Twitter?
Yeah, I'm everywhere, truthfully. Twitter is my homestay though. I'm so active on it. 1333 has more of like an active presence and kind of like a brand sense on Instagram and TikTok. But Twitter, even for 1333, is where it's booming at. And then we talk every day in the Discord. We have a Twitter group chat. Everybody's welcome. And our website, you can just find everything there. We're bringing back the off the apps on the websites. Type in www.hitenter.com.
That's right. Yeah,
Bitch.
x1333.net. Check it out, guys. And yeah, Coyote, thank you again for making that time. It's been a real good conversation. Love to have you back on sometime in the future.
Free white pill.
That's right. I am white pill, by the way. I don't know if you made the connection.
I know, but we got to.
Oh,
That's what I'm
oh,
saying.
okay.
Free white,
Yeah,
free white pill.
that's right.
This is a campaign, and if Elon doesn't recognize soon, we're gonna get more radical about it. But for now, we're just free white pill. Just
Yeah,
keep saying it, people. Get it out there. Keep saying it. Make it a movement. Because if not, we're gonna have to have a talk with Elon directly.
yeah. I got something cooking for that, so I'll be updating you guys on it. But yeah, we'll close this out. Thank you again, Coyote. It's been a pleasure.
Free white pill.